Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Godlike Naruto was Apprentice of Ophis High School DxD. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by AlphaDreamer00 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Day 1 Dawn. Is this another test? In response to his question, the entire heaven shook. Michael let out a rueful smile. He was the current leader of the angels and seraphs, the one who was supposed to guide and protect the angels and their followers, a responsibility that he never wanted but was forced to take on after his father's passing. His tired gaze fell onto the most powerful artifact in DxD, a simple but enormous white pillar. Its smooth and reflective surface was etched with intricate runes and symbols, rhythmically pulsing a faint and otherworldly glow, and these markings were constantly moving while letting out a soft melodious hum. It was the holy system. This artifact had three main functions: hope, bestowing blessings to the righteous ones and providing miracles for those in need; heroism, determining who were the ones worthy enough to wield Longinus Haven, maintaining the defenses of heaven and the skies within it, the most important function of them all, at least, considering their current situation. Unfortunately, with him in charge, the system was vastly inferior to how it was when their father operated it. Another tremor. Brother! She had breached our main defense. Michael slowly turned to face his sister, who just barged in. Gabriel was one of the most beautiful creations of their father, and the only one who was somehow able to retain her innocence after the war. She looked afraid and lost, an expression he hated to see on his beloved sister's face. The emotions were well hidden, but Michael knew his siblings enough to see through their masks, and he was sure that Uriel and Raphael had the same fear gripping their hearts. Was this the end for them? No, it was not. All the cracks in Michael's will and resolution disappeared. He was not worthy to be in charge of the angels and seraphs, but everyone relied on him. They looked up to him. Thus, he had the responsibility to lead and protect them, and he would see it through until the very end. The tremble was more intense this time. Tell everyone to move out of her way. Brother, go! His voice was firm. Gabriel hesitated, but only for a second before leaving the room, and when he sensed that she was far away from the vicinity, Michael raised his hands, palms touching each other, and the holy system answered his prayer. He felt the entire heaven started to shift. The floors, the structures, the locations, and the skies. Everything was being rearranged. He needed to lure her away, but out of nowhere, the entire process stopped. This unexpected condition made his blood run cold, but Michael didn't let the fear distract him as he tried to force the system to restart the process, and the moment he tried to do so, he realized that he was on his knees, and that he wasn't alone. He turned around with difficulty, and saw her, long black hair down to her hips and black eyes that showed no emotion. She stood there, in the guise of a youthful girl. But this disguise would fool no one. This was Ophis, the dragon god who represents infinity, chaos, and nothingness. With a pure determination that Michael didn't know he possessed, he prayed for the entity in front of him to be removed from heaven, and the holy system responded. His surroundings lost all of its brilliance and colors, leaving nothing but white. A second later, even the white disappeared. Now, there was only silence, and from that dark silence came countless purple snakes, filling his entire vision in an instant. Michael was restrained by the snakes. It wasn't only him. From the corner of his eyes, he could see that the system had also been contained, and when his gaze moved forward, it met with the Ophis hollowed eyes. He couldn't move, he couldn't pray, he couldn't even speak. Fear finally reached his heart, and he could only helplessly watch Ophis raising her hand, a purple snake manifesting around that arm, and that same snake reaching toward him. Gregori. Day 1 Morning. Our third defenses are down. Even though what Shemhazai said made Azazel's heart almost stop beating, he couldn't help but chuckle soundlessly. After all, to see Shemhazai losing his cool and screaming was the same as seeing pigs fly. Well, maybe the pigs are flying. The smile disappeared instantly. After all, the future of the fallen angels was looking very bleak as of now. Put all our remaining power to boost the fourth barrier, Azazel commanded, and, ignoring the side-eye from Shemhazai, he gave the second order. Tell Barakiel and Kokabil to come here, Penemu and Tamil to move their group out of the city, and Armoros and Sahariel to bunker down. Shemhazai's hand stopped for a second. It seemed he figured out what Azazel was planning to do, but luckily for the Governor-General, he didn't argue back. A few seconds later, Barakiel barged in, and the first thing he said was, "What did you do?" Azazel actually felt offended by that question. Are you serious? I know I partake in risky and reckless activities, but I am not stupid enough. Then he pointed at the screen. To do this I am not suicidal. Barakiel took a deep breath to calm down, but before he could do a follow-up, Kokabil entered, and knowing that the clock was ticking, Azazel immediately started explaining the plan. Our entire army will be divided into 3 brigades. Shemhazai, Barakiel, and Kokabil will take each brigade and will retreat from the city. Kokabil roared, "This is our home. We will never retreat. This will be our entire faction's graveyard." Azazel shouted back with more ferocity, effectively silencing everyone. After all, he was not the type to raise his voice at random. A second later, Shemhazai broke the tense atmosphere. "And you will retreat by yourself." Barakiel caught on, but Kokabil was still clueless. "We do not know who or what she is after. If our forces split up, she will be forced to go after the thing she wants." Shemhazai turned around from the screen and caught Azazel's gaze. "What if she is after our leader? When it comes to the life of an individual, a few, or an entire faction?" Azazel's tone was resolute, I always know what to choose. No one said anything, but the quiet atmosphere shattered when the ground shook again. Kokubio left immediately. Barakiel and Shemhazai hesitated for a second before departing as well. The screens went red. There goes our last barrier. Azazel smiled, but there was no humor in there. The plan, he told his leaders, was just a distraction for them after all. There was no way they would be able to move their entire army out of the city within a few minutes, but he needed to keep them occupied, otherwise they would have either stopped him from what he was about to do or would have accompanied him. But he couldn't have them do that. Fortunately, Shemhazai didn't figure out his real plan, but Azazel was sure that he would soon put all the puzzle pieces together, so with that in mind, I need to get going. He waved his arm and a magic circle appeared beneath him, and when he completed the teleportation using that circle, he was standing outside the fourth barrier, and she was right in front of him, only a measly 50 meters of empty space between them. Then she turned around, a beautiful girl, small and delicate, but beneath that skin, there lurked an unimaginable power that the likes of him couldn't even comprehend. A power that could wipe out the entire Gregori in a matter of seconds, and yet, she didn't do so because she wanted something, needed something, of that. Azazel was sure, he just hoped, prayed that she was willing to communicate. Ophis, the Ouroboros dragon, the infinite dragon god. It was quite hard for Azazel to keep his voice and posture steady, showing a moment of weakness might end the conversation. Right here, to what do I owe the pleasure? The Governor-General of the Fallen Angels didn't see Ophis moving. Heck, he didn't even blink, but one moment, she was standing half a stadium away, and in the next, she was right in front of him with her right hand raised. Azazel tried, but he realized he couldn't move at all, let alone call for his powers even in this grim situation. He tried to negotiate. Please, there is no need for violence if you only let me know what you desire. I am sure I can assist you. Ophis tilted his head. For a second, Azazel was hopeful. And then, 5 purple snakes appeared from the edge of her hair, all of whom slowly started to make their way toward him. Oh fuck. X. Underworld. Day 1 noon. The last time Sir's Lucifer held a war council was at the end of the Devil's Civil War, and it was almost a century ago, and even though he hoped that he would never have to hold this particular meeting, he knew that it was just wishful thinking. Unlike regular council meetings, this one only included the current 4 Satans along with Seacrum Baal and Lord Agar's. The setup of the room was also different. Instead of a large parliament-style hall, this room was smaller in scale and had an enormous round table with a huge open space in the middle. There were 6 devils in the room, and yet it was quiet, but as Sirzex expected, Zekrom was the one who broke the silence. How accurate is this information? Enough to call for a war council rather than a regular one, Sirzex replied. The old Baal's gaze shifted to his friend, Ajuka Beelzebub, who was working on something in that tablet of his, and his focus had been on that object from the start. Sirzex knew that Ajuka was aware of his surroundings, but if he decided to ignore it, then whatever he was working on must be crucial to their topic. It seemed Zekrom also had the same thought, since his focus shifted to Falbium Asmodeus. Is our military aware of this? Falbium, who was fully awake and attentive, shook his head. No, I do not think that would have been wise. Why so? Lord Agars asked. If the culprit is who we think, then informing the devils, military or public, would just cause unrest in the best-case scenario or mayhem in the worst case. Falbium answered in a beat. Zekrom clicked his tongue. A small motion, but it showed how anxious he truly was. Does any of you have any theories as to why she had ransacked Ajuka's base? Seraphal Leviathan, who had discarded her childlike persona for this war session, covered for Sirzex. Based on the reports and initial investigation, we believe that she was looking for something. She waved her hand and another document materialized in front of Zekrom and Lord Agars. If you look at the items that had been missing, you will see a pattern. Zekrom went through the document in seconds. By the time he was done, his eyebrows reached his hairline. Artifacts? She stole powerful artifacts? Anything that can be used as a powerful weapon, regardless of its size or shape, Seraphal pointed out. So, let me get this straight. Lord Agars interrupted their conversation. She came to the underworld, went straight to Ajuka's main base, ransacked it because she was looking for a weapon, and left without anyone knowing? Sirzex, Seraphal, and Falbium shared a look, and he noticed that this interaction had put the two lords on edge. Another set of a document appeared, courtesy of Falbium. Based on the disruption in the barriers and the surge in the energy frequency, we were able to pinpoint the exact time she entered our border, and I failed to see how it helps. Falbium didn't need to answer Lord Agar's question. Zekrom sprung up. The anxiety and fear were clearly shown in his gaze, an expression that Sirzex hadn't seen for a while. She didn't leave. The statement made Lord Agars drop his jaw. Sirzex nodded in agreement. There had been only one breach in our defense system. It was when she entered, but it also means that she is still inside our border. Otherwise, there would have been another disturbance. For a few seconds, none said anything, but the tense moment was broken by Ajuka this time. It's working. Everyone's focus immediately fell on him, noticing that Ajuka pointed at his tablet. I was able to activate the tracker on certain artifacts that she had taken, so with that, I should be able to track her. Sirzex smiled finally. They were making progress, but the smile disappeared when he saw Ajuka frowning, and before he could ask what was wrong, his friend bolted upright. He didn't need to ask, since his senses told him what was the issue. Sirzex looked at the middle of the room, the center of their massive decorated round table, and there she was, a young child who felt so out of place in the midst of devils, and yet, that endless sinister power of hers was making the devils frightened of her existence. Ophis, one of the most powerful dragons and beings in existence, just stood there innocently. Xerxes was not new to fear growing up during the Civil War. He knew what fear was. At least that's what he thought, the dread and the despair that he was feeling. It was unlike anything he felt before. A blink later he realized that he, along with all the other devils in the room, had activated their magic circles, ready to strike at the monster in front of them. But she showed them why they were feeling this fear on a primal level just by standing before her. Their world lost color and sound. They lost their power and mobility. And from this bleak silence, purple snakes materialized, 6 snakes and 6 devils. Xerxes didn't like where this was going, but he could only helplessly watch as the snakes slowly made their way to each devil. But Xerxes didn't want to accept this fate. He called for the uncontrollable power within himself, the power that put him in the top 10 position, the power that was feared throughout the underworld. And then, he realized, Ophis was right in front of him. He opened his mouth, but the world around him was painted with black before he could even utter a word. Olympus, Day 1 afternoon. Zeus, the chief god of the Greek faction, let out a groan when he felt his divine spear, the lightning bolt, reach its maximum output limit. The pressure from his weapon was so much that he almost went down on his knee, but he stood tall. With a mighty roar, he released the power at the abomination. A regular strike from his weapon could wipe out cities, and this was a fully charged one in his prime. He could have wiped at least half of the planet with this level of attack. He might not be as strong as he was centuries ago, but he thought his attack should halt its movement. Unfortunately, reality was cruel. One of the purple snakes raised its head and ate his blast. Like a midnight snack, there was no explosion, no aftermath. His attack just disappeared in the snake's mouth as if it were a meek little magic trick. Zeus felt on his knee. This is madness. And it was. Regrettably, others weren't faring well either. Poseidon was summoning large volumes of water, and doing his fancy tricks to fight the snakes, but if he took down one snake then another would take its place instantly. At the start of the battle, he summoned a tidal wave, large enough to drown even Olympus, to wipe out all the snakes but one snake, just like his attack, ate the entire tsunami. That enormous volume of water was sucked into its mouth, as if there was a black hole hidden beneath its tongue. Hades might have become stronger than them, but in front of its power, he was just as helpless. He was summoning legions of undead soldiers and reapers and throwing curses and dark magic left and right, unfortunately, similar to Poseidon's situation. His forces and attacks weren't doing any damage. If one snake died, another took its place. If thousands died, then another thousand would materialize, and this was happening so fast that many would think that the snakes were just shrugging off all the damage, and the worst part of it was that the snakes weren't even paying attention to them. And to make matters worse, only 3 of them were standing. Apollo went strong at the start of the battle, releasing countless blasts of pure solar energy, but was soon overwhelmed and was knocked unconscious. Ares stood the longest. He was a god of war, and he showed it through his viciousness, tenacity, and battle instinct. Unfortunately, his divine energy couldn't keep up with his assault. He lost consciousness when his divine energy ran out. Athena was doing great. She supported the vanguard from behind and at the same time directed the evacuation. Assisted by Hephaestus and Hermes, she also guided Artemis to land a sneak attack. Unfortunately, the attack failed and the snakes took out both Athena and Artemis. Why was this happening to them? Was this the end of DxD? There was no prophecy, no premonitions, no warning from the fates. The day started just like any other, and out of nowhere, it struck. Countless snakes made of purple, unidentified energy flooded Olympus. Were they being singled out? A shiver ran down Zeus' spine. He swiftly turned around, his weapon ready to strike. And there it was, wearing the flesh of a human child. It stood there menacingly. This mask might fool many, but the gods could see right through it, and Zeus could see the true identity of it. The abomination, the monster, the beast of infinity. After all, what would you call an entity that even the gods were terrified of? Letting out a roar with all he had, Zeus charged up his spear once more before moving forward to strike the beast, and the beast stopped his attack with a single finger. The despair and the terror that simple action brought were enough to make Zeus' knees go soft, but even so, he couldn't show weakness. He wasn't allowed to. Letting out another roar that shook the entire Olympus, Zeus lunged at it. Asgard, Day 1 dusk. Never thought Ragnarok would look like this. Odin mused to himself. It wasn't the Ragnarok of Norse legend. No, it was worse considering who it was. His Minnesbrunner's magic eye showed the unseen signs to him. He had seen it through the shattered stars residing in the dimensional gap and heard it from the terrified whispers of nature. A beast was coming to Asgard, an entity that they were incapable of facing. So, that plan was not to face her. Odin looked at the city of Asgard from the balcony of his castle. Their city was the most advanced one in terms of magic development, and he along with his people would be utilizing it. He saw his Thor, whose strength had put him in the ranks of the current top 10 strongest being, was hovering above Asgard. His mighty hammer Mjolnir was aimed at the sky and was gathering divine energy. He was being assisted by his brothers, Baldur and Vidar, and when Thor reached the maximum output, he shared a look with Odin before letting out a roar and releasing all the stored divine energy. Odin immediately used that energy as the source to cast an enormous spell with the help of his left magic eye and Gungnir, a spell that had covered the entire realm of Asgard and was causing storms in every corner of Europe. In Midgard, the purpose of this grand spell was to conceal the location of Asgard and not only hid all the paths that led to Asgard, but the storms in Midgard removed all traces of Yggdrasil, meaning it was impossible to enter any realms of the Norse faction from Midgard, or Central Earth as others would call it. This spell was strong enough to conceal Asgard even from the likes of biblical god. That was not all. The storms had another ability: they would notify Odin of all the events happening under the storms constantly. With this spell cast, Odin's gaze then fell on Brynhildr, chief Valkyrie of the Valkyrie squad. She was standing in the middle of the town square, and every other Valkyrie of the squad was standing at the edge of Asgard from an untrained perspective. It would feel random, but if one, highly proficient in the arts of magic, were to connect the paths between the Valkyries in the correct sequence, then they would see it. They formed a city-scale magical circle. Odin moved his gun near and pointed at Brynhildr. Instantly her body was covered in golden flames. Harmless to her, the flames spread in a thin line before reaching all the other Valkyries in the correct order, and when the last Valkyrie, Gondel, was touched by the flame, enormous pillars of golden flame rose from the edge of Asgard. The flames started expanding horizontally before encircling the entire city. Then the flames started to solidify. It wasn't instantaneous, and the entire process took exactly 5 minutes, but when it was done, Odin felt himself letting out a long breath. The city of Asgard was now fortified, and he had used the flames of the giants for that. But he wasn't done. There was one last step left, and it was the most crucial one. Loki was setting up a large teleportation circle beneath the second castle where most of the citizens took shelter. This teleportation spell was linked to multiple checkpoints, spread around various realms. The plan was simple: the moment she would enter the storms, Odin would be notified. He would monitor her movements, and if, by chance, she were to break the spell and find Yggdrasil, Odin would give the command. Everyone would be evacuated using the teleportation spell. The defense spells were just to give them a few extra minutes, and create an illusion that they were still inside the city. Of course, he had cast multiple spells. His Mimsbrenna's magic eye hurt. She was here, but before Odin could even utter one word, all the defenses around Asgard collapsed, and the sky was devoured by the silence. And there, in that pitch-black void, he saw her, a being whose form was covered in endless obsidian tendrils that were writhing and twisting like serpentine shadows. She was the end, an existence that stood above the strongest beings. So, Ragnarok has come. Kyoto. Day 1 night, all I see is silence. These were the last words of the head Shinto priestess before she lost consciousness. The Yukai took pride in their abilities, more so when it came to senjutsu and divination. So when multiple priestesses, specializing in the arts of divination, gave the bleak prophecy, it forced the Yukai to take action. For the first time in centuries, the West Yukai faction, also known as the Kyoto Yukai faction, and the East Yukai faction, also known as the Kanto Yukai faction, came together to find a solution. There was a solution, but I don't like it. Yasaka frowned. Nurari Hyun tapped his old tobacco pipe on the table. Princess, if you have any other solution that we can execute in the next hour, by all means. His gaze hardened. Share. Yasaka was close to letting out a growl but composed herself at the last second. Are you hearing what you are suggesting? That we abandon our people and hide in Inowato? Abandon our people? Nurari Hyun sighed before standing up. If my plan was as villainous as you are making it out to be, Lady Amaterasu wouldn't have agreed to it. With his piece said, Nurari Hyun left the room. The moment the door closed, Yasaka smashed the table in front of her. She created a quick barrier before letting out a roar. It took her a minute to calm down, but when she did, she realized someone was outside. Restoring the destroyed room with just a simple wave of her hand, she calmly ordered, Enter. A Nikomata entered, a youthful appearance with a total number of 5 tails. You are Magari? The Nikomata bowed. Yes, princess. Why are you here? I have a message from Lady Amaterasu. Magari's words stunned her, but the Nikomata quickly but politely added, I didn't receive any direct divination from her. Lady Amaterasu's servant passed me the message. This calmed Yasaka down. I understand, so what is the message? You, Master Nurari Hyun, along with the high-ranking officials should head toward Inowato right now, Magari said while bowing. Yasaka frowned. What about the people? Lady Amaterasu will send her servants. I understand. Magari, while bowing, met Yasaka's gaze. Princess. The warning tone wasn't lost to Yasaka. She subconsciously clenched her jaws. I will head off now. Megari nodded her head before leaving the room. Yasaka wanted to unleash her anger on her private quarter once more but decided that she should get the answers directly from her goddess. Why did the term silence terrify Amaterasu and all the Shinto gods and goddesses? Nurari Hyun suggested that they should take shelter in Inowato. Yasaka didn't have a problem with that. What she had problem with was the fact that it was only a handful of Yukai who received this privilege. Her angry thoughts came to a stop when he reached the teleportation circle. Nurari Hyun didn't even bother to say anything. The moment she entered the circle, he activated it. Inowato was not Amaterasu's primary domain, but it was one of her most fortified homes. A small location that was filled with tranquil grace. The grand torii gates marked the entrance to sacred spaces, their vibrant red contrasting against the lush greenery surrounding them. Stone lanterns lined the pathways, casting a warm glow, and the petals from the cherry blossom trees would continuously drift like snow, accompanied by various ambient sounds of nature. At least that was what she expected to see. Instead, what greeted them was a colorless world filled with silence. Her battle instinct kicked in, but the moment she tried to call for her powers, she felt it. The nothingness. A being that could silence anyone and anything. Then she saw her. Endless chaos and unimaginable power tangled together within the bounds of an abnormal shape. It was a monster taking the form of a child. Ah, so this was the entity her goddess was terrified of. Now she understood, but it was too late. Unknown location. Day 2. Shiva broke his meditation. Terror had consumed the entire supernatural world. The strong had been defeated, and their empires had been trampled upon. The balance of nature and realms had been disrupted to the point that even humans felt it. A balance that all the factions had been working on to maintain for millennia had been broken in one day, and he could feel it. The silence was approaching them. After all, they were the last ones left. Shiva, the god of destruction, didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Vishnu, the god of preservation, stepped forward and stood by his side. Is it wise to face her alone? Shiva smiled wryly. The three factions think that they can hide the fact that the biblical God is dead. They forget that we possess universal awareness, and with him gone, I am the only one who can stand in front of her. Yes, you are strong enough to fight her, but you cannot defeat her. Vishnu was correct. Unfortunately still, Shiva had a responsibility. True, but it is not about victory. I need her to cease this madness. Then let us help. Vishnu stood in front of Shiva and held his gaze. Vishnu had every right to be worried, but Shiva had a reason for taking this path. There is a reason for this rampage of hers, and I need to find the cause of it. If you, me, and Brahma face her together, she will see it as an act of aggression, and a battle between us all would be the end of DXD, you know that. It seemed that his words went through Vishnu. Even so, for a few seconds, none spoke up, and then, Vishnu finally moved, although extremely reluctant. Remember, we are on standby. With that, the god of preservation left, and when his surroundings became quiet again, Shiva restarted his meditation. It was to clear his mind and see what he had missed, to see if he could find the dots that he could connect, to see the picture. At least a part of it. What was the reason behind her rampage? But even with his millennia worth of experience and knowledge, his mind came up with nothing. Then he felt it. He broke his meditation pose once more before standing tall. It seems I will need to get my answer directly from you. There she was, just a handful of meters away from him. The eternal serpent who symbolized the endless cycle of infinity and nothingness. A force of the universe that defied mortal comprehension and divinity alike. A true primordial entity. Ophis, Shiva took a battle stance. In return, she just tilted her head to the side as if she was curious. This made him smile. I do not wish to fight you, I want to help, but you need to understand that if you force your way to our faction, then I have a duty to protect our people. With a sudden burst of speed, Ophis lunged forward. Thousands of purple snakes made of energy, the source of which Shiva couldn't identify, came at him all at once. In response, Shiva countered with blinding speed and struck preciously at the heads of the snakes using his unique power of destruction. Destroying them, he immediately followed up with a palm attack. The force it produced would easily split the world, but Ophis took the attack head-on and brushed it off like it was nothing. However, the shockwave created by the collision shook the entire continent and destroyed the mountains around them. Ophis, if we continue fighting, he pointed at the destroyed surroundings, the world will perish. Whatever you want, it may very well be destroyed alongside the world. This halted her movement, and this was preciously what Shiva wanted. He immediately dropped his fighting stance. Please, let me help with the knowledge I possess. I can be of help. For a few seconds, Ophis didn't speak, and to Shiva, those were the longest seconds. And then she smiled. It was a tiny twitch on the lips, but it was enough to make someone like Shiva tense up. For the first time, she spoke up. Very well, done. 100 years later, somewhere in Yggdrasil. Guess who's back? Naruto's grin reached his ear when his eyes saw the frame of the beast in front of him. The beast that finally acknowledged his presence. Technically, it was the weapon in his hand that got the beast's full attention. What he held in his hand was a simple long spear with a straight silver blade that was longer and slightly wider than that of a standard spear blade, and from the point where the blade and the shaft touched to the midsection of the spear, that entire part was covered in black scaly leather. From a first glance, the weapon looked very ordinary, although the design could do some touch-ups, but Naruto slammed the butt of the spear to the ground, making the beast fully face him and await his initiation. Regardless of the simplistic design, this was the strongest Longinus ever to exist. Fenrir. Yes, it was the beast of the legend. The god-devouring wolf of the Norse faction was quite infamous throughout the entire supernatural world. Even the major gods were wary of him. After all, he was among the very few who were a lord, a category above the superclass, Lord of Fangs. The term lord was used both as a title and a rank. Appearance-wise, Fenrir was a massive and fearsome creature. His fur was a deep, shadowy gray, almost blending with the darkness. His eyes were a burning ember, glowing with a ferocity that hinted at his prideful nature, and his muscular build radiated strength and primal power. Most would focus on his terrifying and awe-inspiring form, but Naruto could see beyond that, the pride and intelligence that were hidden in the beast's inhumane gaze. I challenge you to a duel. The beast growled, a sound that shook the entire area. It was a warning, and Naruto knew this was the first and the only one he would get. In response, Naruto took a deep breath. He closed his eyes, but his already enhanced senses were further heightened as his body was bracing for what was to come, and then a heartbeat later he opened his eyes. Jin no Kiba! An intense rush of energy shot through Naruto. His muscles tensed with newfound power, and his senses sharpened, as if the whole world had come into crystal clear focus. Then he felt that the untapped power of nature tuning with him and expanding his human limitations and capabilities to the extreme, almost monstrous level. He didn't only get a power upgrade, his appearance also got a touch up. The edges of his blonde hair turned silver, the whisker birthmarks on his face became more prominent, and a semi-transparent silver aura covered his entire frame, but he knew that his now glowing exotic eyes were the ones that usually caught the most attention. This was his answer to Fenrir, and so the battle began. The enormous wolf lunged at him, jaws wide open for a split second. It felt as if his open jaws were all that Naruto could see, as if Fenrir was going to devour not just him, but the entire area. It was an illusion, meant to immobilize Fenrir's opponents through fear. Unfortunately for Fenrir, the fear tactic didn't work. Naruto sidestepped the attack at the very last second before stabbing the wolf in the neck. He made sure not to hold back. Physically and mentally his legs were firmly on the ground and the stab had the full intention to land a lethal strike. And yet, not a scratch. Both of them immediately made some distance from one another since either of their initiatives succeeded. Naruto knew how insanely durable Fenrir was. He read it in the books and heard it from others. But to see it with his own eyes made him realize that he needed to give all of his 100%. This will be fun. Fenrir made a face as if he didn't know how to react to his statement, and this made Naruto chuckle. Come on. It's not like the fate of the world depends on this fight, so let's enjoy it. Naruto held the spear straight, while widening the distance between his legs and lowering his upper body. Shall we feast? A growl of acceptance was the answer Naruto received, and they lunged at each other once more. Fenrir went for the same attack, a bite so big that could easily swallow up Naruto and would have room to spare, but midway, he closed his jaws and went for a body tackle. And they said Fenrir was a one-trick puppy. But instead of dodging it, Naruto stood his ground and countered the attack with the tip of his spear. He hoped that the weight and power behind Fenrir's attack would help him draw the first blood. He was only able to hold his position for a few seconds before being thrown off balance. Shit. Fenrir used this chance to take down Naruto with a powerful swipe again. Naruto went for a counterattack. His plan was to use Fenrir's power against him, but the outcome so far wasn't looking too good. Naruto knew he could try to hit sensitive areas such as the eyes or the inside of the mouth, but this wasn't a fight to the death kind of battle. At least not to him. Plus, he didn't like to resort to cheap shots unless his opponent called for it. And let's be honest, I am the one who picked the fight here unprovoked, and playing dirty on top of that is not me. They regained their stances before lunging at each other once more. Bite, dodged. Stab, ineffective. Swipe, dodged. Slash, ineffective. Tackle, dodged. Slam, ineffective. Naruto fell back after the 5-second intense clash. It seemed Fenrir understood that even with the boost, Naruto didn't have the strength to pierce his impenetrable skin while Naruto had the speed. All Fenrir had to do was wait for one slip. I need to step up the game. With his mind made, Naruto stabbed the ground with the butt of his spear and screamed, Lancea Illusionise. His unique magic circle appeared below his feet. It was colorless but at the same time was radiating all the colors. A second later, the circle shattered and his appearance got another upgrade this time. A single horn materialized on the right side of his forehead. A stylized and decorated white horn. Multiple semi-transparent white clones of him materialized all around Fenrir, and a split second later, they all struck him. These clones were made of light particles, and all of them had a bastardized version of his spear. Fenrir brushed off the strikes and rushed toward Naruto, but he stopped and sidestepped just in time. It was a surprise attack from a black clone wielding pikes that came out of the shadows. The wolf couldn't have seen it, and yet he dodged it. The wolf regarded him carefully. Even though the glowing eyes were fully focused on Naruto, he could tell that the beast was also checking their surroundings. Unfortunately for Fenrir, Naruto shifted to a more aggressive stance. This time, he charged at the wolf, multiple white clones materializing in front of him before rushing toward his opponent. Fenrir, once again, didn't bother dodging the clones and met Naruto head-on. At least he tried to, but moved out of the way when another black clone with a pike came out from Naruto's shadow. This made Naruto click his tongue. It was insane sensing the attack and where it was coming from, then dodging out of the way. All within 1 second. It seemed he underestimated Fenrir's battle instincts. Yes, the white clones he was creating were meant to create a solid opportunity for him to land a strike with the black clones. The pikes those clones were wielding were no joke. And if he could land a strike with that, then the first blood would be on him. But it turned out Fenrir sensed it too. Fortunately, he had more tricks up his sleeve. Hundreds of white clones appeared in front of Naruto, but before he could take the next step, Fenrir roared. Not only was it sudden, but the power behind it caught him off guard. The roar created a one-directional shockwave that was strong enough to destroy all of Naruto's clones. He moved out of the way at the last second, but then came face to face with an open jaw. Instantly, Naruto created another clone before using it as a stepping stone to move out of the way. Unfortunately, Fenrir wasn't done. He snapped his jaws shut before hitting Naruto with the side of his face. It was so strong that not only Naruto crashed on the ground but bounced off of it a few times. Fenrir was immediately on top of him, and didn't bother to dodge the clones that appeared all around his face. Naruto, who was still off balance, smiled before snapping his fingers. The white clones, slightly less transparent than their usual counterparts, exploded. The light and the sound created by the explosion momentarily stunned Fenrir. The wolf realized what was coming next, but he still couldn't dodge it. 2 shadow pikes struck Fenrir from the black clones that came out of the wolf's own shadow. One struck him on the right side of his neck and the other left a deep cut on his left hind leg. First blood is on me, Naruto said cheekily after he regained his balance, but immediately realized that maybe he shouldn't have said that. Fenrir roared, one so terrifying that it shook the realm and distorted the flow of nature. And then, The god-devouring wolf opened his jaw. The world around Naruto disappeared, and he could only see the hollow inner mouth of the god slayer approaching him. His upper jaw blocked the sky, and the lower jaw crushed the ground. Lancea Silorum. A short spear materialized behind Naruto's back that had a pair of wings made of pure light attached to it. This unique spear wasn't attached to Naruto, but was floating behind his back. Damnatio! The wings and the spear shattered and the pieces started to circle Naruto. A second later, the broken fragments of the wings formed a protective dome around him, and it was just in time as the jaws closed, devouring him. 3. He felt the fangs of Fenrir trying to penetrate the barrier. 2. He heard the screams of the enemies that Fenrir devoured before. 1. And then there was nothing. Only darkness remained. 0. Checkmate. Another roar, and at the same time the darkness shattered. This time, Fenrir was screaming in pain. Naruto took a few deep breaths to calm his nerves before examining the opponent in front of him. Fenrir had wounds all over his body, and they were not shallow cuts either. It was quite bad since a pool of blood formed below Fenrir, and he was barely standing. The fact that he was even conscious, let alone standing, told Naruto just how resilient Fenrir truly was. The God Slayer let out a roar of defiance as his body started to glow and grow. Are you kidding me? Sounds of chains shattering echoed throughout the area. Of course, you have a second phase. Night fell and Fenrir's fur fully blended with the summoned darkness. Have it your way. If you are going to break your limit, so will I. Naruto raised his spear. Holding it sideways with one hand, he took a deep breath and he felt every part of his body tensing up, bracing for the power he was going to call upon. The next words that left Naruto's lips dispersed the night. A few hours later, Ophis's lair. Happy birthday. With a chuckle, Naruto blew the candles on the large cake as usual. He made sure to get only half of them because the other half was for his little sister. The smile on Naruto's face turned soft when he looked at his little sister. Seeing her cute and excited gaze, he couldn't help but rub her head gently. Happy birthday, Lilith. He wanted to go for his usual bear hug but barely restrained himself considering the time and situation. When it came to appearance, Lilith was a carbon copy of their mother. Ophis, it made sense since she was created by the infinite dragon god using her powers and essence, but when it came to personality, Lilith was the exact opposite of Ophis. She was childish, energetic, vocal, and wished to learn and experience new things. She also had no problem getting into trouble since she knew that her family would handle the aftermath, and if he was being honest, Lilith might be the smartest one in their family. His little sister smiled wider than his. Happy birthday, big brother. She was perfect, and he would have it no other way. I suppose it is time for the gifts. It was a simple statement, but Naruto almost laughed out loud at how the entire room became deathly silent after this, other than Lilith and him. The rest were extremely concerned. Some even took a few steps back in their defense. His mother's gifts were always a bit eccentric. Ophis stood in front of Naruto before giving him a small box. Surprised, Naruto gently opened the box. Inside it, there was a ring. Well, it looked like one, but Naruto wasn't sure if it would fit him at first glance. The ring might look like a simple jewelry made of cheap black gemstones, but those who had supernatural awareness could tell immediately that the powers that dwelled inside were unimaginable. Maybe I will touch it up a bit and use it as an earring? An idea popped into Naruto's head. I wish to give you a different gift. Ophis' eyes landed on Naruto's bandaged forehead. But this should help you to handle your Longinus better. Naruto smiled before giving Ophis a bear hug and received a growl and a deadpan stare, but he was used to it. Thank you, Mom. If you're thankful, then move. The smile didn't leave his face, but he moved. Ophis, still wearing that deadpan look, summoned a scepter and passed it to Lilith. You wanted a weapon like your brother, so here you go. Is that? Are you fucking? SSHHH. Like the rest, Naruto also lost his composure when he realized what it was. Mom. Ophis gave him a look, and he shut up. It was Lilith's turn to give Ophis a hug. Thank you, Mom, you are the best. A grunt was the only reply Lilith received, but just by the sound and expression, Naruto and Lilith knew that Ophis was happy. The rest still had a hard time figuring out Ophis' mood, but Naruto couldn't blame them. After all, they didn't grow up with her still. Lilith, will you train with your big brother tomorrow? The sharpness in Lilith's gaze told Naruto that she understood why Naruto was offering her to train with him. She replied back with a cheeky smile. But you have to let me have fun. I would not have it any other way. Naruto agreed, but he held his gaze. A second later, Lilith pouted before putting the scepter inside her spatial inventory. Thank you. Lilith just huffed and looked away. Now we can have the less exciting gifting session. It's a good thing that both of your birthdays are on the same day, so we only need to do this once. As usual, Midgardsormr had that messy appearance along with a tired look as if he was going to pass out anytime soon, but Naruto's eyes fell on his belly. You can create clothes, you know. Midgardsormr shook his enormous belly. Find me one, that was the deal. Then, without waiting for Naruto's sarcastic remark, he gave him a package before giving one to Lilith. Naruto waited for Lilith to open her gift first. He wasn't surprised by the gift, and he could tell Lilith wasn't either. It was an ancient book on the Norse faction focusing on their magic, and when Naruto unwrapped his gift, he found a runic Norse weapon as he expected. Every birthday, Midgardsormr would give Naruto a weapon and Lilith a book from the Norse faction. He also knew how the lazy dragon got his claws on the gifts but never called it on him. Thank you, Midgardsormr. Naruto and Lilith thanked the world serpent together, who waved his hand at them before heading toward the couch at the end of the room. My turn, I suppose. The next to step in was Yulong. Unlike the rest, The Jade Dragon didn't have a single human appearance, rather he took various ones depending on his mood or goal right now. He had the appearance of an extremely handsome Asian man, meaning he would be leaving early to woo some ladies. Maybe because he was a ladies' man he knew how to pick gifts, because the one he gave Lilith made her smile widely. It was one of those fancy dresses from the anime Lilith was recently watching, and to his surprise Naruto also received a dress set, a decorative overcoat with orange stripes, black pants with silver belts on the right thigh, and thick boots made of dragon scales. Yulong, really? The Jade Dragon gave him a mischievous smile. Don't worry, the clothes are also practical. Who said you cannot be fashionable while you fight? Naruto didn't want to admit that he was right, so he just gave Yulong a stare before putting the clothes in his spatial inventory. I guess you know what my gift is. Naruto and Lilith both smiled at the next Dragon King. Unlike Yulong, Fafnir had a more down-to-earth look. His human appearance was that of a regular Western man, but his striking red eyes and the single horn on his right side broke that image. And we will still like it. Lilith went and hugged him. I suppose I can live with that. Fafnir smiled before giving Lilith a paper. I heard that there is this anime that you are enjoying right now. Lilith's eyes shone when she heard that. So I bought the studio for you, she squealed before hugging him again. Naruto stepped forward, and you opened another branch of Uzumaki Cafe. He snorted while still patting Lilith's head. And as for you, Naruto, I opened another branch of Uzumaki Cafe. Naruto opened his arms wide, hug. The flat stare Fafnir gave him made Naruto laugh. Lilith, his little sister, let go of Fafnir and faced Tiamat. Like everyone else, the Dragon Queen was in her human form. Those with lower supernatural awareness would be attracted to her because of her beauty, but those with higher awareness would steer clear because of the extremely powerful draconic aura that she possessed. She was also their teacher technically. She stopped focusing on Naruto some time ago, but that would never stop him from appreciating what she and Vritra had taught them. This is a gift from Vritra and me. She passed a book to Lilith. It contains draconic spells and quite a few that are derived from our blood. The excited look from Lilith broke even Tiamat's icy persona, but that didn't stop her from warning Lilith. We will start going through those spells from our next session. The Dragon Queen also received a tight hug from his little sister. As for you, Naruto, unlike the rest, Vritra's human appearance was more rugged, muscular build with a scruffy beard along with multiple small facial scars. He looked like a mafia boss one would see in movies. And he was the one who taught Naruto the most, be it battle or life. We will share your present later. Vritra looked around before leaning toward Naruto. We need a more private setting for that. Seriously? Naruto frowned. You are going to leave me hanging like this? Vritra snorted. Lilith has to wait until tomorrow. He had him there clicking his tongue. Naruto looked at Lilith, who was receiving presents from his friends. We are almost done with the gift session. Only left the dinner and after party mingling, so we should be done within an hour max. He let out a dramatic sigh. Better be worth it. Cheeky brat. Vritra pointed toward his friends. If you're in a hurry, finish the party fast. Naruto nodded his head in acknowledgement, making sure to make the motion exaggerated before heading toward his friends. As usual, Rock Lee was the first to notice. In honor of his deceased idol and sensei, Lee copied his appearance. Bowl-cut hairstyle, green jumpsuit, orange leg warmers, and white wrappings around his forearms, but nothing stood out the most than his thick eyebrows. That was why Naruto used to call him Bushy Brows. Yes, appearance-wise he looked quite harmless, but Lee was a monster when it came to fighting. Both Naruto and Lee couldn't use their full power, each having their own restrictions still. If Naruto was being honest, even with their limitations, Lee was still a fearsome opponent, more so than his teachers. Naruto and Lee stood there silently, facing each other. Then a second later, guts. They fist bumped before turning it into a manly handshake. Then they started to put pressure, enough to break a mature dragon's bones. Guts. It was one of the fun ways they greeted each other most of the time. It would end in a draw because, quit it you two. Someone didn't like him having a good time. With a grunt, Naruto loosened the handshake before letting go of Lee, who didn't mind the interruption. Here is something to keep your fighting spirit going. Naruto smiled and took the small box without even opening it. He could tell that the box contained various powerful Eastern medicines and potions. Honestly, these medicines had more practical value than most of the presents he received today. With a smile, he punched Lee's shoulder lightly. Thank you, Lee. His friend then gave his signature pose, thumbs up with a wink. Anytime, my friend. Another fist bump before Naruto made way for the next person, Sakura. Many admired Sakura Tosaka's lustrous violet hair, but to Naruto, it was always the jewel-like violet eyes of hers, of course. The hidden perverted side of his appreciated how gorgeous and curvy she was, even though she was wearing a simple sundress. And right behind her was her big sister, Medusa. Well, he liked to call her that considering how similar their appearances were: long glossy purple hair and equally striking purple eyes. But this shade of purple could be easily mistaken for a lighter tone of violet, and she was just as beautiful as Sakura, and bustier than her. But in reality, Medusa was Sakura's Longinus. It was the extremely rare independent avatar type of Longinus. With a red face, Sakura leaned forward and whispered into his ears, Medusa and I will give you our present when we are alone. Naruto blinked once, took a step back, and looked at Sakura, whose face was slowly turning red when she averted her gaze and bit her lips. He lost it. Taking a deep breath, he calmed his mind before marching toward Lilith. He needed to finish the birthday party fast. Maybe I will skip the after-party mingling. Then he recalled Vritra's words that they needed to have a discussion. Yup, most definitely need to skip it. When he reached Lilith, wordlessly he extended his hand, palms up. When he saw the mischievous smile, He shook his fingers, beckoning Lilith to give the present. The smile turned more bashful when she dropped her present on top of his waiting palm. It was a necklace. The entire design of it was simple, with a black gemstone as the centerpiece, but upon closer inspection, Naruto realized what the gemstone truly was. Two almost identical scales were merged to create it, and the scales were from you and Mom. You made this? She nodded her head but averted her gaze. And the chain is made from your energy. That was unexpected. Vritra helped me with that part, and that answered his question. Naruto wore the necklace, gently, since he had another one after that. He hugged Lilith. Thank you, I love this. Was this gift better than Mom's? And she was back to her quirky self. Both of yours are the best. But Naruto knew how to handle his sister. Lilith stepped away and gave him a flat stare. Because if you want to be the best, Naruto waved his hand and a portal appeared on his side. There cannot be any competition. Any doubts? You need to blow away your opponents. You have to be that good, and to do so, you need to think outside the box. Saying his part, he half entered the portal before grabbing hold of the gift and started to pull back. There was resistance, as expected, but he won fair and square. Come out, you stupid mutt. And with one last pull, he took out his gift for Lilith. Someone yelped. Someone dropped a glass. Someone facepalmed so hard that the sound echoed. Someone started coughing, and he wasn't stopping. But the squeal Lilith made was the only thing Naruto focused on. It's a puppy! Yes, Naruto handed Lilith Fenrir, who had shrunk his size to that of an average wolf, but the utterly defeated look Fenrir was giving didn't sit well with Naruto. While Lilith was petting him all over, Naruto gave Fenrir a squeeze, and when the god-devouring wolf gave him a flat look, Naruto returned it with his own. A second later, Fenrir sighed before licking Lilith, and woof. Lilith's squeal filled the whole room. She then hugged Naruto before screaming, "Thank you! Thank you? This is the best birthday present ever!" Naruto puffed up his chest before returning the hug. I know. Lilith, Vritra separated the two. Why not you got play with your new? He closed his eyes before taking a few calming breaths. Puppy, your brother and I, we need to have a talk. His little sister shook her head frantically before burrowing her face in Fenrir's soft fur, who was behaving extremely docile now that his mother joined Lilith. When Naruto was surrounded by the 4 dragon kings and 1 dragon queen, Naruto immediately raised his hands. Listen to me first. Then, without waiting for them to start grilling him, he raised his index finger. First, Lilith wanted a pet for quite some time. Second finger went up. Second, she liked canines. Third, the pet needed to be strong enough to withstand her aura and strength. Fourth, probably just my preference, but I wanted her to have a pet that could protect her. Then the last finger went up, but Naruto didn't say anything for a second. Then he let out a bashful smile. I just wanted my gift to be special. For a long minute, no one spoke. Then Yulong broke the silence. I am calling it the son is worse than the mother. The other 4 nodded their heads in agreement. Now, Naruto was offended, but before he could retort, Tiamat glared at him. Don't you dare! Pursing his lips, Naruto looked away. These guys are just being melodramatic. You know what? Vritra sighed and then shared a look with Tiamat. Let's give him his present right now. Tiamat silently agreed before heading toward Ophis. Vritra created a portal before motioning a surprised Naruto to follow him. But he didn't follow Vritra immediately. He took out the other necklace. It was a simple locket type. When he opened it, he was greeted by 2 photos. One was a beautiful woman with long red hair, and another one was a handsome man with the same shade of blonde hair as his. He closed his eyes and did a quick prayer for his deceased birth parents before putting the necklace away and moving toward the portal. To his surprise, Naruto landed in the training room designed for him, but before he could say anything, Vritra motioned him to wait. A few seconds later, Tiamat came from the portal. So? Naruto's questioning gaze went from Vritra to Tiamat. Fenrir, the god-devouring wolf, really? Tiamat let out a sigh mixed with a growl. Before Naruto could defend himself, Vritra spoke up while rubbing his forehead. Let's not go there, please, for my fucking sanity. Let's focus on why we are here. You know what? Your little stunt proved that our decision is right. It is time for you to leave the nest. Are you kicking me out? Are you retarded? Naruto didn't expect that kind of counter-question. Vritra rolled his eyes. Do you truly think that we have the authority to take such bold actions when it comes to you and Lilith? You know what? The Black Dragon King pursed his lips. Don't answer that question when I said leave the nest. What we mean is that it is time for you to go out and explore the world. That surprised Naruto. Really? Vritra grinned, which made Naruto smile, and then out of nowhere, the Black Dragon King's expression became flat. No, that is what we told Ophis. Tiamat joined in before this escalated further, that you, along with your friends Sakura and Lee, will go out to explore the world to get experience and knowledge. After all, Tiamat shared a brief look with Vritra. We do not have anything left to teach you. That's not true. Vritra pointed in the direction of the main hall. You defeated Fenrir, Lord of Fangs, and I told you before that even the weakest Lord-class entities can defeat all the Dragon Kings alone. Tiamat let out a growl, and in response, Vritra gave her an unamused look. Am I wrong? The Dragon Queen just huffed and looked away. We are getting sidetracked. Vritra faced Naruto before summoning a thick document and handing it to him. Naruto took it but didn't open it. It's your mission. My mission? Yes, isn't that what you wanted? An adventure, exploring the world, helping people, making friends, beating the shit out of the bad guys. And you want to do all these on your own terms, without us nagging you all the way. What Vritra said was correct. He wanted to have the freedom to have his own adventures with his own team, even his fight with Fenrir. He had to plan in secret and snuck out when no one was looking. He should be happy, but the smile on Vritra's face was making Naruto wary. Is this my birthday gift? Yes, Vritra's smile got wider and Naruto was seriously getting worried. We persuaded Ophis that you should have your own adventures. It's not like you will go into the world and disappear, but more like you will take a mission, go out, complete it however you want, and then come back with that. You get to do your adventures while gaining some real-like experiences and knowledge. Naruto scrunched his eyebrows. So, it's like the anime Lilith is watching the guild, which is also home to the members, gives out missions and based on the rank, members will group up and do the mission. Preciously. Vritra's smile was fully diabolical now. So, your first mission, again. We do not care how you achieve or how long you take to achieve it, is to find out the base of an abomination known as Chaos Brigade and destroy it completely. Yes. The same group that your dear mother created. A pause. What the fuck? Done. Ophis's lair. Hi, name's Naruto Uzumaki, Apprentice of Infinity. Cut. What the fuck is wrong with? Naruto took a few steps and got inside Vritra's personal space. This introduction. In response, Vritra stepped back, closed his eyes, and took a few deep breaths while saying, breath in, breath out. Naruto let out a loud groan while exaggeratedly waving his hands. Now you're just being melodramatic. Naruto, the only reason I am not physically choking you right now is because you can easily kick my ass. He paused before adding, and your mother would probably make a live painting using my flesh. No, seriously, I can't use the title Son of Ophis or Son of Infinity. Fine. But what's wrong with Apprentice of Infinity? Naruto asked, frustrated. They are all the same thing. Vritra screamed at Naruto. What's next? Apprentice of Ophis? What part of, hide the fact that you're related to Ophis? Do you not understand? Naruto scowled. She is my mother. I am so fucking glad that we are having this conversation. The Black Dragon King felt that he was very close to having an aneurysm. If you want to use a fancy title, just go with Wielder of True Longinus as I suggested. Simple. Why would I want a title based on? Vritra interrupted before Naruto could finish his question, because 1. That title will give you just the right amount of exposure. Most of the factions will only be wary of you when they hear about you. Only the Heaven faction will actively seek you out, and maybe the Gregori. Even then, they will send scouts, but there is almost zero possibility of them to send armed forces too. It will be easy for you to trick your enemies. Heck, if you can pull it through, you can trick the entire supernatural world. But if you use a title with any links to Ophis, everyone in the supernatural faction will shit their pants. No, I am not joking, and this fear will make them do stupid things. You are just exaggerating. Naruto crossed his arms. You know what? Let's take a more serious route so that I can get through that thick skull of yours. You want to explore the world without our protection and our guidance. So, my question is, Vritra let out that vicious smile and Naruto immediately knew he lost the argument. How much spotlight do you wish to have on your team? Do you want the entire supernatural world to come at Sakura and Lee? Naruto blinked once, twice, and within that 1 second, he created a particular scenario in his head based on what Vritra just said. How would his team, as it was now, fare against a combined special force of the 3 factions? And he didn't like the outcome he came up with. He looked away, groaning, fine, I will follow all the rules. Yes, it was not just about which title Naruto wanted to use. There were a few rules Vritra ordered Naruto to follow during his mission. Some made sense, and some were just absurd. So, Naruto, being himself, asked his teacher to take out those rules. At first, Vritra told him off, but Naruto was persistent. Because of this, there was quite a bit of back and forth, and it almost went physical. Finally, they came to an agreement that if Naruto could prove a single rule useless, that it would hinder their journey. Vritra would remove the all rules that Naruto didn't agree with, but he only had 1 chance, and Naruto couldn't do it. Now that we are done wasting our time, Vritra ignored Naruto's flat stare. Let's go and brief the rest. Why didn't you brief everyone during the party? Naruto asked. Vritra clicked his tongue. Because of the stunt you pulled. Now, how is that my fault? We had a plan on how we would have broken the news. You dropped Fenrir in the middle of the party, and I was like, fuck the plan, Vritra said in a tone and expression as if he was explaining to a child. So many words came to Naruto's head, but none left his mouth since they reached the other room. Sakura, Medusa, Lee, and Tiamat were already in the middle of a discussion, sitting around a round table. Did you already inform them? Vritra asked. Nothing on the mission. Tiamat's gaze then landed on Naruto and she grinned. Just on how to take care of the brat. Now you're just being mean. We tried, but jokes aside, Tiamat waved her hand and 2 more chairs appeared. Other than the main objective of the mission, we also want you to grow as you explore the world. Before you start running your mouth, Vritra jumped in before Naruto could retort. Listen to what we have to say. Tiamat gave a nod of appreciation to Vritra before continuing. You possess the strongest Longinus ever to exist. One that can truly kill a god, and your aptitude over it, even now, astonishes us. Yes, you have not mastered the Longinus yet, but it's just a matter of time. And we know for sure that you will pull multiple mind-blowing stunts while doing so, but what we are worried about is something different. Simply put, growing up with your mother has screwed up your perspective when it comes to how the supernatural world works, how different factions operate, Vritra added. And to be frank, we, the Dragon Kings, didn't help much in that regard. If I may, Sakura raised her hand slowly when Vritra gave her a nod of acknowledgement. She continued, Naruto, what Lord Vritra and Lady Tiamat are alluding to is that the mission is similar to a prince going undercover as a captain guard and exploring the kingdom from a different light. Naruto mouthed as quite a few points clicked in his mind. Tiamat smiled at Sakura. Like I kept saying, you are a gift to us. In response, Sakura just smiled bashfully and Medusa just smirked at Naruto. So other than babysitting Naruto, what else do we have to do? Naruto just smiled back. Did he take the jab in good humor? Of course not. It wasn't the right time to retort, but there would be plenty of opportunities in the future, be it outside or inside the bedroom. Honestly, he would prefer the former, and seeing the challenging look Medusa was giving him, it seemed she picked up on his wayward thoughts. Tiamat leaned forward, getting Naruto's full attention. Naruto, the reason why we are giving all these lectures and warnings is because you will lead the mission and because of the mission's nature. We have a feeling that you will be forced to continuously improvise. More so than your friends, you may need to gather more team members, and there's a possibility that you may cross paths with other factions. I apologize for interrupting. Lee raised his hand before continuing. What is the mission? Maybe we can give some valuable input if we are briefed on that first? Naruto knew that he shouldn't, but his prankster side was screaming at him, so, before Tiamat or Vritra could answer, Naruto jumped in. Oh, you don't know? We just have to defeat a group that my mom created herself. Lee opened his mouth and closed it before looking at Vritra and Tiamat. Sakura was blinking rapidly while looking back and forth, and Medusa glared at Naruto, thinking he was just messing with them. Naruto is just messing with you. So, what he said is wrong. Tiamat became quiet at Lee's comment. Vritra, on the other hand, had enough. For the love of DXD, let's just get this over with. I don't even know why we are being so cautious. Either the brats will do a spectacular job or we'll fuck it up badly. Either way, it's a headache we will have to deal with in the future now. I will say it once, so listen carefully. Vritra materialized 2 folders and telepathically passed them to Lee and Sakura. The mission is to disband the Cows Brigade. Who are they? A bunch of criminals from various factions gathered under one umbrella. Why is Ophis involved? She had a few exchanges with them in the past, and after that she moved on, but these degenerates didn't. How dangerous are they? Currently, the old Satan faction is leading the group, and they still possess the power Ophis shared with them before, so, do the math. Where is their base? We don't know. You need to figure that out. What's their goal? Probably world domination. That's all. Any questions? Lee, Medusa, and Naruto raised their hands. Put your goddamn hands down. Vritra stood up. Now that you're crystal clear on the mission, I am out. With that, the Black Dragon King teleported out in a heartbeat. Medusa looked at Tiamat, stunned, who pointed at the folder. Whatever questions you have, they should be answered if you read it through. And then, she left as well. She then turned to Naruto. We are fucked, aren't we? Lee frowned. That is not youthful. Medusa responded with a withering glare. Not really, Naruto replied with a chuckle when faced with a flat look from Medusa and a concerned one from Sakura and Lee. He pointed at the folder as well. Trust Tiamat also. I already know the question that is bothering all of you the most. Why don't Ophis take care of the group? Yes, shouldn't this solve this issue in one go? I don't think it will go well. Sakura was the one who answered Lee. You know that Lady Ophis is not known for subtlety. Lee mouthed oh, and Medusa groaned while rubbing his forehead. A second later, Lee looked at the folder. I am guessing she also doesn't know the location of their base. She didn't have any contact with them for a few decades, and yes, Sakura is right. I love my mom, but if we ask her to take care of this issue, she will cause a lot of collateral damage, so it's up to us. With that, Naruto stood up as well. I have already gone through the files. I suggest we take it slow and start from Europe after that. We can either move to east or west depending on our findings. You want to use my connection to scout the Europe continent? Medusa sounded surprised. You actually put some thought into it. While I don't appreciate the kitty gloves treatment, Naruto rolled his eyes. I understand their concern. I mean, if you think about it, instead of getting a C-rank mission, we got a S-rank one as our first mission. Medusa opened his mouth, and a second later, she closed it. Sakura sighed before tapping on the folder to get Medusa's attention. I believe we should start reading the information provided to us before discussing our next step. That's my girl. Naruto went over to Sakura before giving her a quick peck on the lips. I will be in the training room with Lilith if you need me. Medusa waved Naruto off. Lee, on the other hand, was already going through the documents. When Naruto teleported into the training room, the scene in front of him almost made his jaw drop. Fenrir, who was in his real form, was running and jumping all over the training ground, and Lilith, who was riding the enormous wolf, was laughing while pointing at the ultimate rank training golems that were being materialized by the room's system, and the god-devouring wolf was just bulldozing through the marked golems that were nearby, crushing them as if they were made of regular rocks for the golems that were far. His little sister was summoning meteors using the gift she received from their mother. The training room, which was made for him, couldn't keep up with the onslaught. Naruto wet his lips. Maybe I should spend more time with Lilith. We can have an energetic Ophis. A month later, Naruto groaned when he felt the power of his Longinus' second form completely leaving his body, while his body was strong enough to handle the strain now. This process still left him slightly dizzy in one fluid motion. He turned the spear in his hand into a bracelet, and he used his other hand to take out a potion from his inventory that he finished in one chug. Once again, a significant improvement. Putting the empty vial back in his spatial inventory, Naruto faced his mother and smiled. But not enough for me to go 100%. Ophis's when I twitched. It was so subtle that other than Naruto and Lilith, no one would notice it. She pointed at the earring he was wearing, her gift. You still receive a backlash when you use Balance Breaker. The message was clear. Got it, Mom. His other bracelet, the one meant for communicating, vibrated again. Time for me to go. With that, he took a few steps forward and hugged her, and as usual, received an annoyed growl in return. See you soon, Mom. Naruto stepped back and the silent void around him disappeared. He returned to the enormous training area, hidden beneath the place he was staying currently. It had been a few weeks since Naruto started his journey with Sakura, Medusa, and Lee. Ophis wasn't aware of his mission Naruto, and the Dragon Kings told her that this was special training given to him which was supposed to help him with his leadership and critical thinking skills in a sense. He didn't lie also, to not raise any suspicions. He was still attending the appointed training sessions with his mother regardless of where he was staying. Lilith, on the other hand, figured it out honestly. Naruto wasn't surprised but she was playing along since she loved his birthday gift plus. He promised her to drop by for dinner and would spend a few hours training with her basically. She was treating his mission as a 9-to-5 job. Now that he thought about it, the mission did feel like a blue-collar job. His communication bracelet vibrated once more, breaking him out of his musings. Hope Medusa found something. Right now, they were in Switzerland. The plan was to use Medusa's connection in Europe to find out more about the old Satan faction since they were the largest and the leading faction inside the Chaos Brigade. The organization would fall apart if they were taken care of. In theory, the plan sounded simple but the moment Naruto and his team started working, they faced two major issues. The first one was very unexpected. It was the logistics. One of Ritra's rules was that Naruto and his team were not allowed to ask for the Dragon Kings or Ophis's help unless it was absolutely necessary at first. He didn't think much about it but the moment they hit the road, he saw the issue. The lodging, the meals, the funds. How was he going to manage this? Not just for him but the whole team? Luckily, the issue was resolved when Sakura pointed out that Naruto was the owner of the Uzumaki Cafe, a multinational chain of coffee houses that was quite famous in the supernatural world, so getting funds wasn't the issue, which also solved the lodging and meals. According to Sakura, managing resources was also a part of team management, and he strongly believed that Ritra wanted him to learn and improve this skill. Naruto agreed but there was one tiny problem. He sucked at math. Good news, he had Sakura who was smarter than him. While this issue was taken care of, the other one was still a pain. Finding clues about the old Satan faction. The old Satan faction was extremely infamous in the supernatural world. Heck, even now, the Devil faction was actively looking for them and Medusa heard rumors that the Heaven faction and Gregori also kept an eye out for them, so finding even a small lead was close to impossible. And if it was this hard in the European countries where they had a stable information network, how hard was it going to be in the West or the East? When Naruto entered the ground floor of the house, he saw Sakura enjoying a traditional Chinese sweet. She immediately put down her sweet and stood up when she noticed Naruto. Are you done with your training? Naruto smiled tiredly, had to cut short. He pointed at the communication bracelet. Medusa must have found something if she is pinging this many times. Sakura nodded before giving him a look over. Do you want to take a shower first? I can call her and tell her to wait. He knew he needed a shower and a change of clothes, but there was a shorter route. He stood in front of Sakura and widened his stance. Earning a giggle from her, the message was clear, so she took out a small decorative wand before waving it in front of Naruto a few seconds later. Naruto felt refreshed. Not only his body was cleaned up but his clothes were also mended. Naruto inspected himself before letting out a satisfied smile. I suppose this will do. Then he motioned at Sakura, who got closer with a wave of hand. He activated his teleportation circle, and a second later, their surroundings changed. Now, they were in a private room at Uzumaki Cafe situated in Zurich. Medusa, who was already seated, looked at them with mild annoyance. What took you two so long? Medusa was in her signature casual dress, form-fitting jeans with a loose long-sleeve t-shirt which was failing to hide her enormous chest. In my defense, Naruto smiled wryly. I was late because I went a few solid rounds with my mother. Naruto's statement earned a flinch from Medusa. She smiled apologetically. My condolences. Before we start, Naruto took a seat opposite Medusa while Sakura sat beside him. Where is Lee? Now, Medusa was outright glaring at him. Maybe rotting in a cell somewhere. This made Naruto laugh. Come on, he is not that bad. He is. Don't you dare say that he is just eccentric. Medusa interrupted him. I work for the Dragon Kings. There was a pause. And live with your family. They are eccentric. Your friend is just plain crazy. Naruto smiled sheepishly. Medusa had a point still. This was not the first time he had to handle this. Look, if you think about it, all of us. I mean most of us. Seeing the withering glare from Medusa, he corrected himself. Are nut jobs, one way or another, but Naruto gave Medusa his signature smile which weakened her glare. In times of need, we will be the first to help you out. Lee is the same, isn't he? The stare-down between them lasted a few more seconds before Medusa looked away defeated, making Naruto smile victoriously. So, he is training, in public, as usual. Sakura, beside him, smiled in relief and finally decided to join the conversation. So, do we wait for him? No, Medusa and Naruto replied in unison. I will brief him later. Naruto put one arm around Sakura's waist and pulled her closer before focusing on Medusa. So, what did you find? A lead. Naruto expected as much and the tone of Medusa told him that it was the breakthrough they were looking for. Still, he remained quiet. Medusa understood his intention and started explaining. There is this guy, who is going around, challenging strong individuals, mostly mercenaries, and beating them with ease. He also earned a nickname in the supernatural world, the Silver Demon. Demon? Naruto asked confused. I am not the one who gave him the nickname. People call him that because 1, he fights quite viciously, 2, his abilities are unknown, 3, his wings are unique. Some say they are made of light, some say they are similar to devil wings but larger. Why the vague description? Sakura asked. If he fought mercenaries, information about him should be quite easy to find. And here comes the issue, Medusa sighed, after beating his opponent senselessly, he forces them to drink a strong dose of forgetfulness potion, hence the ambiguity. Original Satans have unique shaped wings, Sakura whispered, interrupting their conversation unwillingly. Naruto smiled. This was getting somewhere. Medusa nodded. And did any of them have silver hair? Lucifer and his descendants, Sakura replied. His smile turned into a wide grin as he bear hugged Sakura. I am so glad that we have you on our team. And what do I get? Medusa crossed his arms, since I am the one who found all the information. Naruto let go of Sakura, but before he could get up and hug Medusa, she swiftly raised her leg and stepped on Naruto's face. Not now, we need to focus. He clicked his tongue before backing down. Yes, the hugs reserved for his lovers were not always so innocent, and they knew it. So, we need to find the silver demon? Sakura asked. Do you have a lead on that? Yes, Medusa nodded while materializing a folder and putting it on the table. The alpha of the strongest werewolf pack in Europe openly challenged him. Now Naruto knew why Medusa was so impatient. Alright, he stood up. Time to stalk a werewolf. 2 weeks later. How loaded is he? Naruto had every reason to ask that question. They were only focusing on the large residential properties situated outside of the cities. Even then, the alpha werewolf owned more than 20 properties all over Europe. The good news was that Silver Demon never fought in crowded areas or cities, otherwise, they would have to keep an eye out on 100 properties in 100 different locations. Does it really matter? Medusa pointed at the various locations marked on the map in front of them. My snakes are covering all the areas. The moment anything unusual pops out, I will know immediately. Naruto sighed. The range of that technique of yours, it's insane. Medusa snorted. And you have the power to subdue the god-devouring wolf and turn him into a pet for your sister. We each have our own strengths. She had him there. Naruto raised his hands in a surrendering manner before moving toward the living room. His eyes immediately landed on Sakura. Unlike her usual choice of clothes, she was wearing a black close-fitting outfit that had multiple ornaments attached to it. Yes, she looked sexy in that, but the color scheme didn't match her. Despite trying her best to hide her emotions, Naruto could easily tell how nervous she was. Naruto sat opposite of her. Sakura. No, her answer was resolute. Naruto, Medusa, and Lee didn't want her to join the fights in their mission since she severely lacked battle experience. This was not the only reason when it came to techniques or talent. Sakura was not fit to be on the front lines. Even Vritra agreed, but Tiamat sided with Sakura, saying that it was better to give her the experience in a controlled environment rather than her facing a dire and dangerous situation forced upon their team. This was not all. Sakura even started learning more battle-oriented magic and tactics. Tiamat even gave her the defensive bodysuit, made by her and enchanted by Vritra. Still, Naruto sighed before getting up. Not a second later, the alarm went off. Lee, who was meditating in a corner of the room, was beside Naruto in a flash. Medusa closed her eyes and focused on the communication link with her snakes. Sakura stood up but stopped when Naruto got close and touched her forehead with his. Just stay beside me, Naruto said. His tone left no room for argument. Sakura nodded in agreement. We got some movement in location 6, Medusa said while moving closer to him. Naruto waved his hand, creating his teleportation circle. Location 6 it is. While they were in the middle of teleportation, Naruto whispered, Shimpi no Yari. By the time the transformation in his power and appearance was complete, they were already at their destination. It was not a forest, but with all the trees around them without any signs of civilization. It sure looked like one, but the problem was not the trees, rather, it was unnatural fog in front of them. Is he already inside? Lee asked Medusa. No, Naruto answered for her, and to everyone's surprise he loosened his grip on his spear and took a step forward without looking anywhere particular. He smiled gently. I do not know who you are, but we are here for the Silver Demon. We believe that Silver Demon could help us find the old Satan faction. Naruto could practically feel the glare from Medusa. Don't worry, we are not here to join that stupid group but rather to stop them, so, can you let us pass? Medusa came forward and pinched his arm, hard enough to make him flinch. Almost she tried to lean forward to tell him something, but Naruto stepped back. She looked surprised, but Naruto gently shook his head, while lightly patting her hand. She understood his message and reluctantly stepped back. Not to push you or anything, Naruto said while fully turning around, his back facing the fog, and pointing in a certain direction with his spear. Are they your friends? Immediately Lee and Medusa were on guard, and Sakura came to Naruto's side. A moment later, Lee and Medusa changed their stances when they finally sensed who Naruto was talking about. Lee took the front and center position, and a deep breath later, he took the strong fist stance, the fighting style he learned from his deceased master. Medusa, on the other hand, loosened her stance before standing behind Lee and closer to Naruto and Sakura. When she found the perfect position, she bent over, her hair flowing freely. How about this time, we switch things around? Naruto said while trying his damnest not to look at Medusa's inviting and sensual pose. Medusa and Lee looked at Naruto without breaking their fighting stances. Naruto stood behind Sakura, making sure that she was within his arm's reach. If Lee takes the front line, the fight will be over before Sakura can learn anything, so, let's switch. Sakura looked back at him, wide eyes and quivering lips. But before she could protest, Naruto placed his index finger on her lips and smiled reassuringly. Trust me, 2 simple words, but it calmed her down. She was still nervous, but Naruto would be helping her out with that. He touched her shoulders and gently turned her around. Lancea illusionise. He felt her calming down further. Lee gave him a 2-finger salute before moving to the side, and Medusa stood straight. She and Sakura probably had telepathic communication because Sakura immediately cast 2 spells on her. One was to boost Medusa's speed and another was to add multiple enchantments to her daggers in one shot. He was surprised when he realized that he couldn't pinpoint what the enchantments did. They were ready, and 10 seconds later, they finally saw the other party. It was a group of 25 devils, led by one whose lower body was that of a tiger. Not just him, but the rest of the devils also had some non-human features, some more so than others. Are you with the fucking bitch? The half-tiger devil roared. That's rude. Naruto gave a fake frown. We don't care. That's our target. Fuck off. All the devils behind the leader took an aggressive stance. Came here and no idea what you are talking about. Naruto completed his sentence after a pause as if he hadn't been interrupted. The leader looked reluctant, but another devil, one with a snake-like tail and scales, came forward and whispered, coincidence that when we cornered her, another group popped up. Naruto heard his words clearly, and he also didn't miss how he looked at Sakura and Medusa. He also sensed the fear, clearer than before. Coming from the fog before the devil leader could say anything, Naruto asked the question, are you from the devil faction? A simple question, but it stumped all the devils while they hid it well. Naruto saw and sensed their nervousness. The snake-like devil smirked. Of course, we are. It was a lie. Move. The leader took a step forward before frowning when his gaze fell to his side. And what the fuck is he doing? Naruto could see from the edge of his vision what the devil leader was talking about. Lee was doing that weird reverse squat exercise. He was squatting while standing on his hands and balancing a barbell with his feet. Naruto just shrugged. After all, what could he say here? The leader's nostril flared. He didn't say anything more. Instead created 2 swords made of purple energy and flew toward them, making all the devils do the same. Medusa moved. Naruto could follow her movement, but he knew most if not all the devils could not in a flash. She reached the devil at the right end of their formation. Multiple strands of her hair fell off before turning into black snakes and biting the devil, instantly immobilizing him. By the time that devil fell on the ground, Medusa was at the left end of the devil's formation, doing the same thing. These 2 devils weren't the only ones. When Medusa moved from the right side of the formation to the left, she took out 5 more devils the same way. Basically, 1/4 of the devils were down within the first 10 seconds of the fight. Unfortunately for Medusa, the remaining devils smartened up. The devils reformed, creating multiple smaller groups. One group was focused on ranged attacks, another group was protecting them, and the last group was trying to catch her in melee. But Medusa didn't look worried. She smacked the daggers together, creating a smoky explosion, and used that smoke to run around the battlefield. So, that's what it does, Naruto smirked. Medusa was more of an assassin-type fighter. She excelled in taking out single enemies by surprise, but against a larger group or super aggressive opponents, she had some troubles. Still, with the support of Sakura, she was doing great. Naruto noticed that the devils, while they were fighting as a group, were not acting as a single unit. 10 devils were blindly following the tiger hybrid devils. 6 devils were having a slightly harder time, but the other 7 devils were following the snake hybrid devil. Maybe they are strays? Sakura whispered. Naruto leaned toward Sakura, without moving his gaze away from the battle. Stray devils are reincarnated devils who have diverted away from their masters for various reasons. Some run away, some become blinded by power, and some leave after their master dies. But from what I learned, the devil faction takes this case seriously, Sakura explained while making sure her full attention was still on the battlefield. So a bunch of stray devils grouped up to go after someone. Naruto knew he was missing something, so he asked Sakura, how do the devil faction handle the stray situation? Depends. If it is because of any selfish desires, they will be killed on the spot, but if the situation is delicate, the devil faction will handle it with care, Sakura answered. But seeing her scrunching her eyebrows, Naruto decided not to press her further. He would have the answers anyway after the fight, a fight that was going to be over soon. Out of nowhere, Medusa moved in a flash. She was right in front of the entire group. She was in the perfect spot as all eyes were on her, and before they could even move a muscle, her eyes shone for a split second. The entire area lit up as if the flashlight of a camera went off. The outcome? The remaining devils were petrified. It was not the deadlier and permanent one, but a much weaker version. Unfortunately, her surprise attack didn't catch all of them. She missed the half-tiger and half-snake devils, but instead of attacking Medusa, they passed her and headed toward Naruto and Sakura. Sakura tensed up. As for Naruto, he stepped forward. He hugged her from behind while putting his chin on top of her head, but didn't take any offensive stance. Just as they got close to Naruto's striking distance, a barbell came flying and hit the half-snake devil. Courtesy of Lee, this caught the other devil by surprise as well, but the attack that took him down came from behind Naruto. Multiple elemental blasts hit the devil in the face, immediately knocking him out. Naruto turned his head and saw the person in question, a beautiful young woman with long, straight silver hair and aqua-colored eyes who appeared to be in her late teens. But what drew Naruto's eyes was the unique armor. While many wouldn't figure out the origin of that armor, Naruto received enough gifts from a certain Dragon King to know where they were from. It was a Norse armor. Thank you for your assistance, the young woman said while keeping a safe distance. Naruto fully understood her concern. He turned around while making sure Sakura was within his reach and smiled reassuringly. Nice to meet you. A little help here? Medusa groaned. Naruto chuckled while pointing at Lee, who was done tying up all the unconscious devils. It doesn't look like you need any help. Although they are petrified, Medusa pointed at the devils around her, you know that it is not permanent, and since I had to use it on so many of them at once, I will fucking kill you. They will be getting up soon. Medusa finished her sentence with a flat tone. The tiger hybrid fought against his binds while looking at Naruto enraged. I will kill you and then all the ones you love. The snake hybrid woke up as well. We have reinforcements coming. His gaze moved from Medusa to the young woman, and then finally landed on Sakura. The tiger hybrid sat upright, roaring at Naruto, an action that made all the devils wake up as well. Naruto could see that this might become dangerous while the chains Lee used to tie them up were not easy to break. He shouldn't take risks here. When I get out of this fucking... You are scared, most of you are. At least Naruto smiled. His words and tone surprised all the devils. I am not going to say that I understand your fear, but I can clearly say that you need to understand your situation. Naruto started to move closer to the leader and, at the same time, Medusa went over to Sakura. When he reached him, he knelt down so that he was at the devil's eye level. Do you think lashing out is going to help here? And listening to your speech will? The snake hybrid sneered. An advice. Naruto stood up, his gaze never leaving the leader. Pick your companion wisely. Naruto stabbed the ground with the butt of his spear. 8 clones of him appeared right in front of 8 specific devils, including the snake hybrid. Then, in unison, they pointed their spears at the heads of the devils. Naruto stabbed the ground with his spear once more. The silent command was given, and a second later, the clones struck, instantly killing the 8 devils. Even though I am just a regular human being, I can smell the blood of innocence from them. I can sense the evil rooted inside of them. Can you not? Naruto asked. His tone didn't change. He felt the surroundings becoming quiet. The devils who were struggling to break free from their chains became docile. The fear in their eyes was quite prominent now. Where's my manners? Naruto smiled, which made the devil leader flinch. Name's Naruto Uzumaki, wielder of true Longinus. Done. Somewhere in the UK. Unknown supernatural cafe. Nice to meet you, Rossweiss. The lady in question nodded her head politely. Likewise. Despite the limited interaction Naruto had with her, he could tell that Rossweiss was a serious professional type of individual. She was also an extremely cautious person. After all, she asked them to meet her in the middle of a city in the UK. It was a public cafe in the supernatural world, and if Naruto remembered correctly, this was quite near to the entrance of the Norse faction. But considering what happened last night, Naruto wasn't sure if this wariness was a result of her being paranoid, and if this was who she was. Speaking of last night, everything went smoothly after Naruto established his dominance. While he rarely took this route, there were times and places where he needed to follow the rules of the dragons. Show them who was the alpha. Choose violence over words. Establish a hierarchy. It sounded primitive, Naruto wouldn't lie, but it was super effective when dealing with certain groups of people. As for what happened to the stray devils, they were handed to the authority. Well, it was more like dropping their asses in front of one of the devil's faction bases in Europe while no one was looking. He also made sure that the devils couldn't track his team. To be fair, Medusa had it covered. And why the stray devils were going after Rossweiss? Naruto clicked his tongue, recalling that particular part of the night. What the stray devils told him was that they were hired by a devil with silver hair, young, refined, and exuded a powerful aura. That was the description they gave to Naruto. So, their employer was the silver demon. But this didn't match his persona. Honestly, they didn't have much info on him, so the possibility was there that it could be his doing. Naruto sure hoped so, because silver hair was not supposed to be common in the supernatural world, and he didn't want to chase the wrong devil. Just when Naruto thought he hit the jackpot, turned out that the stray devils didn't know how to contact him. The strays told him that this mysterious silver devil contacted each of the stray groups and asked them to work together to capture Rossweiss and bring her to him unharmed, and the reason why they listened to him without much fuss was because he offered them a lot and paid half in advance. The problem was the rendezvous point. Their employer told them to meet him at an abandoned church located outskirts of a small European city, but that church didn't exist. Medusa deduced that the mysterious devil might have been tracking the strays and would have contacted them when Rossweiss was captured. It could also be that the city mentioned by the employer was the rendezvous point, not the church. There was also the possibility that the silver-haired devil planned to take the strays out once the job was completed. Regardless, they hit a dead end, and keeping the strays around would have been dangerous since they knew nothing more. As for his team, Medusa was out there making sure their tracks were covered and that no devils were following them. Yes, he wanted her to track the silver demon, but Medusa didn't want to take any risks after all. By now the devil faction should be aware that Naruto had true Longinus, since Naruto introduced himself as the wielder of true Longinus to the strays, so there was a chance that they might have sent scouts to trail him. Lee, as usual, was out there training. To be fair, this time Naruto asked him not to join this meeting since the presence of too many of his team members might have spooked Rossweiss. So, it was just him and Sakura. Once again, I would like to thank you for apprehending the stray devils last night. Rossweiss finally spoke up, breaking Naruto's musings. And once again, don't sweat it, Naruto replied in a heartbeat. The moment he noticed that the conversation was dying out again, he decided to take the initiative. By the way, how are you feeling? The question surprised Rossweiss. I am fine, thank you. Naruto wanted to ask if that truly was the case considering what happened last night, and judging by how she reacted to the assault, it didn't look like she was used to it. But before he could ask her, Sakura pinched him under the table. While he was good at reading people's emotions, a woman's heart was a different matter, hence, he had Sakura with him. Seeing that this wouldn't be going anywhere, Naruto decided to take his usual blunt approach. I hope you won't mind me asking, but do you know why you were targeted by the strays? Any ideas at all? The stiffness was quite clear to Naruto, and unsurprisingly, Roswise dodged the question by asking one herself. May I ask you to clarify your motives first? Sure, Naruto replied immediately while shrugging his shoulders, something that surprised Roswise again. We are going after the old Satan faction because they are causing some serious problems for us and our families. We plan to catch them and hand them over to the devil faction. Unfortunately for us, they are extremely hard to track, and one lead we have right now is the Silver Demon. Why is that? Because last time I checked, only the old Satan faction has devils with silver or white hair, Naruto answered Roswise. There was a pause again, but Naruto could see that the young lady in front of them was opening up. If it helps, Sakura spoke for the first time, drawing both of their attention. Maybe we can stop this topic for now and meet up again if you're not feeling comfortable. Will you prefer that? Roswise looked at Sakura, who didn't look away. A few seconds later, Roswise smiled softly. Thank you, but I believe I should return the courtesy. Then she faced Naruto. I am a Valkyrie. I knew it. Technically, I am a Valkyrie in training, and right now, I am on a journey. Roswise paused for a split second, to pass a test after which I will be one step away from becoming a full-fledged Valkyrie. This told Naruto nothing of value, but he didn't mind after all. He also didn't share much either. Still, I do not believe this test of yours has anything to do with the assault, or do you think otherwise? Roswise frowned. While I cannot disclose the information of my test, it is nothing grandeur. My goal is to find evidence to support my thesis. Now Naruto was drawing a blank. Fortunately for him, Sakura joined the conversation again. So it is like a final project that you have to complete to graduate from your academy? Roswise nodded back. Naruto scratched his chin. Embarrassed, he knew Sakura helped him out there by dumbing down the terms. Do you think that the topic of your thesis? No! Roswise shouted at Sakura. Only my family and a few of my teachers know about this. Naruto clapped once, startling both the girls. But his gaze was on the Valkyrie. We are just trying to help, which is getting harder since we have no leads to work with. Naruto paused before smiling. Of course, if you do not wish for our help, just say so and we will leave. Even though he was smiling, the warning tone was quite clear. Roswise understood that, but before she could say anything, Naruto leisurely pointed at Sakura by tilting his head toward her. The meaning wasn't lost to Roswise. I apologize for shouting. It is all right, Sakura replied, flustered. I think we are just tiptoeing around the topic. Do you know why you were being targeted? Since the conversation wasn't going anywhere, Naruto decided to bulldoze through this. Roswise looked down before shaking her head. No. Do you want us to help you? Like sticking with you until you finish your thesis or escorting you back to your home? She took a bit more time before shaking her head once more. No, since I do not know why I was targeted, it will be best to return home, and while I appreciate your offer, my home is just a few teleports away. Splendid, Naruto smiled before reaching into his pocket, a movement that made Roswise tense, but Naruto didn't stop. Since we are looking for this silver-haired devil, we would appreciate it if you inform us if you find anything on him, no matter how small it is. Then he took out a small standard communication device and put it on the table. And if you are in any danger, you can also use the device to point us to your location. Roswise didn't reach for it immediately, but Naruto knew why she would probably scan it first. Naruto lightly tapped on Sakura's back, who nodded back. It was a pleasure to meet you, and please, take care of yourself. With that, Sakura got up. Roswise smiled at Sakura. Likewise. Same as what she said, Naruto grinned as he pointed to Sakura. Wait. Roswise caught their attention at the last moment. Her gaze was focused on Naruto. Do you actually have true Longinus? For the first time, Naruto saw her showing genuine emotion. Her eyes were twinkling with excitement. He had a feeling she wasn't aware of this herself. While he didn't like it, Naruto had to keep up his mystery persona. So, he just smiled at her. Who knows? A few days later. I still think we should have told Naruto. Lee had a point, but so did Medusa. They needed to do this without Naruto. Around an hour ago, Roswise had sent a message saying that she had found the location of the Silver Demon. She had given them the location, but also mentioned that she was going after him. How did she find him? Why would she go after him alone? None of that mattered at the moment because they needed to catch the Silver Demon before he disappeared. Since Medusa had the communication device that Naruto had given to the Valkyrie, she was the one who received the message, and she was the one who decided not to tell Naruto and Sakura about this. Why did Medusa do this? It was a test for them, a test of strength. Medusa was sure that if Naruto came with them, he would easily subdue the Silver Devil. Without a question, after all, this was the person who had defeated Fenrir, Lord of Fangs, and would train with Ophis, the strongest being in their universe. Another simpler comparison would be that Naruto could defeat all 5 Dragon Kings together, whereas Medusa and Lee couldn't even defeat Fafnir, the 3rd strongest Dragon King. Lee could, but Medusa wouldn't call that winning since he would also be out of commission. This never bothered her and honestly, still didn't, but Medusa needed to confirm how far the team could go without Naruto. Were she and Lee ready to take on dangerous opponents of the supernatural world? Don't worry, if the situation goes out of control, I will inform Sakura telepathically, and because of the connection we possess, she can teleport to my location with Naruto immediately. Medusa revealed her backup plan to Lee. I see, Lee nodded. I have a question. Is there a possibility that Rosweiss is leading us to a trap? Medusa smiled as usual. Naruto was right. Lee was a completely different person during a mission. No one could guess that this was the same guy who would walk with his hands in public areas and scream unintelligible words while wearing tight spandex. She is not the type, she answered. There was a pause. Your snakes were stalking her. More like keeping an eye out. Their conversation ended when they heard an explosion, strong enough to shake the area they were in. Immediately they sped up, and a minute later they reached their destination. The first one to catch their attention was their target. He was a young man, roughly in his late teens, with light silver hair and was quite well dressed, but what truly stood out the most was his wings. A pair of transparent sky blue wings that were constantly discharging colorful particles. Those are not devil wings, Medusa groaned, but didn't express her concern. She could sense devil energy from him, but it was overshadowed by another type of energy. Draconic energy. One that did not belong to him. As for Rosweiss, she was on the other side of the battlefield, completely unconscious. She was wearing a different set of Valkyrie armor, one that was stronger than the previous one and had more enchantments on it. There were multiple magical staffs around her as well. Unfortunately, the shredded condition of her armor and the broken state of the staffs told Medusa that Rosweiss wasn't prepared enough for the fight. And, as Medusa predicted, the battle was taking place in a secluded area, far away from any civilizations. Are you the Silver Demon? Medusa asked. Both Lee and her wanted to check up on the Valkyrie, but they needed to understand their opponent's motives. Apparently so. Not the nickname I would choose for myself, the young man said while ensuring he was facing all three of them. Before Medusa could say anything, Lee stepped forward and stood in front of her. I hope you won't mind. He took one of his fighting stances, one arm behind his back and the other one forward. If I keep you company. His silent message was clear to Medusa. He would keep their target occupied while she helped the Valkyrie and look for an opening to join the fight after that. Their opponent observed Lee. A few seconds passed by and then, a blink later, their fists clashed. Medusa took this opportunity to rush toward Rosweiss. Rosweiss' condition wasn't life-threatening from the state of her armor and the battleground. Medusa guessed that she had taken a lot of heavy blows but was able to deflect or absorb most of the damage. No, the issue wasn't physical injuries. It was her energy, which was dangerously low. While she knew no healing magic like Sakura, every member of their team knew basic first aid and all of them had access to various powerful potions. Medusa took a healing potion and gently poured it into Rosweiss' open lips. Then she took a small cloth pouch and dropped the powder inside it all over the Valkyrie. The effect was quite immediate. Rosweiss fully woke up with a groan and her armor was somewhat mended. What? Wait. Take a deep breath. Medusa took a step back. We came to help. No, that guy. Rosweiss stood up, still shaking. He has divine dividing. Medusa's comment surprised Rosweiss. She gave her another potion while keeping an eye on the battlefield. Drink up, we need all the help we can get. For various reasons, every member of their team learned as much as they could about other existing Longinus. What were their powers, their balance breaker forms, how they came to be, and who were their past users. But one piece of information that was almost impossible to get hold of was their current holders. A devil with a Longinus. Now how did that happen? Lee was going toe-to-toe with their opponent, which wasn't surprising considering their training partners, but what worried her was that their opponent wasn't using the infamous divide ability on Lee. Considering what divine dividing was capable of doing compared to their power and skill set, this battle. Balance breaker. Divine dividing scale male. Lee. Don't let him complete the transformation, Medusa screamed. Lee, who was watching the young devil from a safe distance, immediately closed the gap, but he missed him by a fraction of a second as their opponent took flight while transforming. Chunks of white metal appeared all around his body, quickly forming a formidable suit of armor. But once again, the wings took everyone's attention. It was a few times larger than before and now was pulsing with power, giving them a menacing feel unlike before. With a booming roar, the transformation was complete. Without looking away, Lee shouted, Now? Should they call Naruto now? Medusa shook her head, and a second later she regretted her choice. The devil targeted Lee first. He was fast before, but now Medusa could barely keep up with his speed. Lee dodged the first attack but got hit by the second, and the third. Medusa gave a telepathic signal and all the hidden snakes around them, that she was subtly creating, lunged at their opponent, but all of them missed as the devil created some distance to dodge their attack before closing the gap and destroying all the snakes with his wings. Lee took a different stance, but before he could power up, the devil was on him again. Buy him some time, Medusa told Rosweiss. In a flash, there were around 20 magical circles appeared on top of the Valkyrie before firing various elemental blasts at their target. Divide! 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 The devil used the infamous ability of divine dividing to absorb all the incoming magic attacks while simultaneously pressuring Lee. Medusa cursed if Lee could go into his second stage. He could easily keep up with the Longinus user, but that needed some preparation. Divide! Divide! To her surprise, the target of this set of divide attacks was Rosweiss, and a few seconds later, she was on her knees, panting and barely conscious. Medusa knew she needed to make a decision here. The reason she was not getting closer to their opponent was because she would be taken out quite easily. Her assassination style of fighting as well as her abilities were useless here since her target was faster than her, and extremely durable. Even her mystic eyes would not work because of the enormous gap in power, at least not in this form. She didn't want to reveal her trump card yet, but the only other option she had was to call Naruto. The choice was easy even though she didn't like it. Medusa stood straight. Loosening her stance, she felt her hair flowing unnaturally and her body getting warmer, reflecting her inner state as the monster within had awakened and started clawing at her, demanding to be released. And she let it out. Balance breaker. Thea Gorgo Avulgemini Apo to a Pyro. The chains have been removed. She embraced the unleashed beast within her, and in response, her current human form started to morph to adjust to her rapidly increasing power. Her body began to expand. Her tight black clothes shattered and gave way to flowing white garments that revealed more of her curvaceous form. Golden scales enveloped her arms. From the elbows down and her legs from the thighs down, strands of her hair fused together, transforming the tips into snake heads behind her. 2 enormous golden wings and a snake's tail materialized, completing her transformation. When she was done, her gaze landed on her opponent. Luckily, he didn't disrupt her. Was it arrogance or curiosity? Regardless, the second round had begun. During her transformation, one of Medusa's snakes already informed Lee not to draw attention to him and to tend to Rosweiss, so now, she didn't need to worry about them. Divide. The devil made the first move. Medusa felt her power weakening, but not to the extent their opponent wanted. She also took note that the enormous sky blue wings of the devil were now releasing purple energy. The core ability of Longinus Divine Dividing was to divide the power of its opponents by half and to add that portion of the power to the wielder, and as a safeguard, the excess or unusable energy would be expelled through the wings. This ability sounded unbeatable in pen and paper, but in reality, this had quite a few hidden gaps other than the obvious ones. First, Divine Dividing couldn't use the full extent of its ability against certain types of powers, dragons slaying artifacts, divinity possessed by high-tier gods, and unique types of energy that didn't mix well with dragons and humans. And the second one was touch and vision. The user had to touch their opponents physically, and needed them to be within his sight to use the divide ability. Unfortunately for Medusa, she wouldn't be able to utilize the second gap in her current form. The devil moved, and so did she. She spread her wings and flew upwards but had to halt because of the barrage of strikes coming at her from multiple angles. Medusa covered her frame as much as she could with her wings, blocking the strikes while the snakes from her hair lashed out, trying to catch her opponent. Unfortunately, he was too fast. Yes, she had a technique that she could spam to keep him away, but she had another plan for that technique. Divide. Medusa felt her power weakening further. This is still a bad matchup, Medusa groaned. She used her tail to do wide sweep attacks, and her snakes, which she multiplied further, were used for fast attacks while she protected herself with her wings. This type of defensive fighting style was not her forte, and the worst part was that her opponent was not a mindless brute but a smart fighter. He kept his distance while using lightning magic to fight off her snakes. Was he also playing it safe? Yes. Divide. Medusa could tell that his goal was to figure out her power and slowly chip that power away. He only used divide when the absorbed energy was fully released through his wings, and even then, he was cautious about it. The outcome was clear. Medusa was going to lose even in her balance breaker form. But unfortunately for her opponent, she anticipated this. She didn't go into this form to play cat and mouse with him. Medusa expanded her wings, foregoing her defense. Both of them locked eyes, and a second later, the stare-down broke because of a magic circle that appeared in front of Medusa's face. A heartbeat. Later the circle became twice as big as she pulled all of her remaining energy into it. Divide. Pandemonium Cetus. The circle expanded tenfold in a flash before firing a pure red and black colored energy beam at the devil. Divide. Unfortunately for him, her attack was unaffected and he got hit by the full force of it. Medusa was able to continue the attack for a few more seconds before releasing it. She not only dispelled the attack but also her balance breaker, since she didn't have any energy or reason to remain in that form. When the dust was cleared, the Longinus user was still standing, unharmed and in his balance breaker form. What was that? Medusa smiled tiredly at him. I wonder. He extended his arm, aiming at her. Divide. But nothing happened. Medusa should be happy that her attack worked, but his attitude was worrying her. Instead of throwing a tantrum or going berserk, he was just calmly standing there. At least that is what she deduced from his stance, but it was hard to tell with that full body armor covering him. Conceptual petrification? His comment made Medusa tense up. He figured it out within seconds. It seemed that he was almost as bad as Naruto. Sixth gate. Gate of view. Open. Luckily for Medusa, she had another lunatic on her side. Everything was a blur after that. 1 second the devil was floating in the air, and in the next moment, he was gone, and a fraction of a second later, the surroundings shook violently, forcing Medusa to cover herself. From the corner of her eyes, she saw the devil on the ground. His mask was shattered to the point that 2/3 of his face was showing. Div. Lee was so fast that it felt like he materialized behind the Longinus user, and a moment later, the devil was blown away. Even though she had seen this technique of Lee's a few times, it still made her speechless. The only thing she could see was the devil being tossed from one point to another in the air, and a few shockwaves indicating where Lee was. Even with her enchanted eyes, Medusa could not follow Lee's movement. And then, an enormous shockwave occurred in the sky and was followed by a large explosion on the ground. Once again, Medusa covered her eyes. When the dust cleared, which took a few seconds. Lee was standing unsteadily while drinking a potion. His condition wasn't looking good. His skin was a few shades darker and was filled with cracks. Blood was dripping from his nose and mouth, and his irises were dull, lifeless. Fortunately, the injuries were being healed at an extreme pace. Beside him, the devil was lying on the ground, unconscious and without his balance breaker form. Lee put the empty vial away and smiled tiredly at Medusa. Now? Medusa chuckled. Yes, now we call Naruto. Basement of Naruto's current hideout. Name's Valley. The young man introduced himself to Naruto. I wish I could say it is a pleasure to meet you, but... He grinned while lightly pulling on his restraints. Naruto opened his mouth and closed it a second later when he realized he didn't know what to say. He looked to his side, at the culprits. Rosweiss looked slightly flustered. Naruto wasn't sure if it was because of the battle, or the fact that things didn't go as she planned, or was it because of the entire situation? Naruto really hoped it wasn't him because he came here bare-chested. In his defense, he and Sakura didn't have time to dress up when they got the message. Yes, they were getting down and dirty in the bedroom, meaning Naruto was annoyed right now since he was blocked, and his annoyance grew when he learned that Vala wasn't the one who tried to capture Rosweiss. Turned out it was another silver-haired devil. How many silver-haired devils are out there? Lee wasn't avoiding eye contact, but he looked apologetic, and even though there were no visible injuries, just by his posture and expression Naruto could tell that Lee had to push himself beyond his limit. Luckily it was for a short duration. How did Naruto know? If Lee went all out and fought for a long duration, he would be in their personal infirmary, not here in the meeting standing. Medusa, the mastermind on the other hand, was grinning. She looked relaxed and pleased as if they had completed a big mission. Honestly, she did pull that off, but Naruto didn't like how she went about it. This was a first. Usually, Naruto was the one standing quietly waiting to be reprimanded, not the other way around. This was a weird experience, to say the least. Still, he had so many questions to ask, but someone else beat him to it. Why did you not inform us? Sakura wasn't angry, but she exactly wasn't happy about the situation, and it was showing through her tone and expression. Moving forward, there will be times when we will need to divide our group to take care of multiple missions at the same time. I wanted to test ourselves to see if we are ready for that. Medusa broke eye contact with Sakura and looked at Naruto. Or do we need to always rely on you to do the heavy lifting? Naruto sighed. You are strong, and I wanted to test that theory. Medusa smirked. What if you got seriously hurt? Sakura asked. What if we couldn't reach you in time? That is why I tried this against a non-lethal enemy, Medusa replied. I am right here, Vala interrupted with a deadpan tone. Last time I checked, you didn't kill your opponents. Medusa looked at Vala challengingly. In response, he smiled. Fair point. But this didn't help the situation because Sakura was still frowning. Seeing the tension rising, Naruto stepped up. First of all, thanks for catching the Silver Demon. He paused before looking at Vala. You are the Silver Demon, right? That's the nickname I received. Good, just checking. Naruto faced the rest. I understand where you are coming from, Medusa. He immediately caught Sakura's gaze. Sakura, in your own way, you are also testing your strength. I feel like this needs a proper and transparent discussion, but now's not the time. He held the gazes with everyone, and within a few seconds he received nods from them. After that, he fully turned to their captive. Finally, Vala smirked. Sorry about this. Being a team leader isn't an easy task, as you can see. Naruto then pointed at the restraints. Let's keep it simple, shall we? I will ask a few questions, answer honestly please, and after that, we will part ways. Vala raised an eyebrow skeptically. Do you know anything about the old Satan faction? Even though he tried to hide it, Naruto noticed Vala's expression stiffening when he heard his question. It seems you do. What do you want with them? Our mission is to take out their group. Naruto's answer made Vala do a double take. It seemed he really wasn't expecting this type of answer. You are lying. Nope, Naruto replied with a laid-back smile. Their group is causing a lot of problems for our families. To be completely honest with you, I would have taken them out sooner or later anyway now that I know their past crimes and what they are capable of. Why? Naruto snorted. Something tells me that you will agree with me on this. They are the stereotypical type of villains. The pure evil kind. I don't need any reasons other than that. Naruto blinked as he realized he missed out one point. Of course, I understand if you don't believe me since you don't know me at all. Your team kidnapped me, Vala said while lightly shaking his restraints. And you were going around assaulting unsuspected individuals, Medusa pointed out. Touché, their captive smirked. Like I said, Naruto got Vala's attention again. You give us some leads and we will part ways. Vala didn't say anything back. In fact, he remained quiet for an entire minute, and Naruto gave him that time. Finally, Vala met Naruto's gaze. Let me reintroduce myself. I am Vala Lucifer, a direct descendant of Lucifer. Now, Naruto did a double take, and even without looking, he could tell that this revelation stunned the entire room. The reason I am going around assaulting strong individuals is so that I can become stronger. Strong enough to kill Rise of M. Lucifer, who is most probably leading the old Satan faction. Vala said all that in one go. Medusa was the first to compose herself. And he is. Vala looked at her, and for the first time, Naruto saw genuine anger in his eyes. A scumbag, a stain in the world that needs to be removed. In a sense, our goals are. Medusa looked at Naruto, somewhat the same. Naruto got closer to Vala, which made everyone in the room tense up. When he was within an arm's reach, he crouched. I have a question. If this Rise of M person is hiding behind a group of innocent people, will you kill them to reach your target? Once again, Naruto's unexpected question stunned Vala, but he replied almost immediately. No, I will never be like him. Naruto gave him a wide smile. sounds good to me. He stood up while removing his restraints, an action that surprised everyone, including Vala. Since we are not standing on the opposing side, I see no reason to keep you chained up. Naruto's answer calmed everyone, except Medusa, who was glaring holes at him. But he was used to it. Vala slowly stood up while rubbing his forearms. He made eye contact with each person in the room before finally meeting Naruto's eyes. I suppose you wish for me to tell you what I know. That will be appreciated. Vala smirked. Fight me for it. Naruto tilted his head. This was unexpected. If you win, I will tell you everyone that I know about Rise of Him and the old Satan faction, and if I win, this interaction never happened. Naruto snorted before giving a silent command. The bracelet on his wrist shattered and his spear materialized in his hand, and the power it released immediately dominated all others. Vala's eyes widened before he let out a vicious smirk. This made Naruto grin as well. Shall we feast? Done. Training Ground 01. Hidden location. Seems like someone is impressed. Naruto couldn't help himself seeing how Vala was poking around the training ground. Vala chuckled before turning to Naruto. I can tell, even before doing any test runs, that this place is a perfect place for intense training. He tapped the ground lightly before whispering the next part. This place is meant for dragons. Naruto heard it even though he was far away and could tell that the question was meant for someone else. Looks like he already created a stable connection with Albion. Maybe an alliance as well. But Vala was right. The Dragon Kings created this training ground with the help of Ophis. It was meant for Naruto and the Dragon Kings to go all out. Yes, this was the training ground meant for dueling and not testing out new abilities. There were other training grounds meant for that particular reason, and one of those locations was currently being used by Lilith and Fenrir. Glad that Sakura and Medusa are keeping an eye on them. Of course, the training ground Ophis used to train Naruto was not accessible by anyone else other than his mother. Technically speaking, that location didn't exist. Whenever she wanted to train Naruto, Ophis would create that location on the spot. As for the current training ground, the initial design of it had a traditional block appearance. The floor, the walls, and the ceiling, everything was filled with square shapes that looked similar to those experimental white rooms from TV shows, but later, additional objects were added by Naruto to give a bit more life to it. Now it looked like a training ground built in the medieval ages. Funnily though, the materials provided by Ophis to build this training ground had similar properties as divine dividing. It would absorb energies released by the duelers and would use them to strengthen the location. So, are we ready to start? Naruto asked. Vala stopped admiring the surroundings and focused on Naruto. I have a request. In response, Naruto just raised an eyebrow. Don't hold back. Now that Naruto grinned and the bracelet around his wrist shattered, summoning the spear to him, depends wholly on you. Vala answered the challenge by laughing, and a second later, roaring balance breaker, divine dividing scale male, Jin no Kiba, Lancea Silorum. By the time Vala finished his transformation, Naruto was also done powering up. In one corner, Naruto stood with the tip of his spear aiming at Vala. He had a pair of wings made of light floating behind him, not actually connected to his body. Another side effect of his power-up was that his whiskers became more prominent, and his irises started gleaming dangerously, giving him a feral appearance. And on the other corner, Vala was hovering in the air covered in a full-body white armor. Honestly, the design of the armor looked more mecha than draconic. A second later, both rushed at each other. But just before they were about to clash, Naruto folded his wings and kicked the air to flip over Vala's form. While in that motion, he hit Vala's head with the butt of his spear, and when he noticed that Vala was trying to touch him using his tail, he threw the spear at the tail, causing it to wrap around the spear instead. The spear stopped in midair, abruptly breaking Vala's momentum and stunning him briefly. Yes, Vala couldn't move the hovering Longinus an inch away from its place. Naruto snapped his fingers and the spear vanished before reappearing before him. He grabbed the Longinus and struck Vala on his head with the blunt side of the blade, which caused Vala to crash onto the ground. Vala was instantly up on his feet before focusing on Naruto. Divide. But he missed since Naruto moved to his blind spot before he even finished voicing his ability. In order to use his divide on Naruto, Vala needed to make physical contact with him, and then would have to keep him within his sight. Direct contact with Naruto's Longinus wouldn't count. This meant that Naruto had the fight in the bag, as long as he didn't slip up. Vala charged toward Naruto, his wings spread wider, and his arms were in a grappling motion. Naruto crouched, and when Vala got closer, he kicked with his both legs and bolted right. Surprisingly, Vala kicked and punched the air simultaneously to make a sharp turn as well. Damn, Naruto was impressed. Still, it wasn't enough. When Vala reached a certain speed level, Naruto spread his wings and halted his movement, catching Vala off guard. Unfortunately, Vala couldn't stop himself as elegantly as Naruto did, but he still tried to get the first strike. DV. Naruto realized where Vala was aiming at. He was targeting his spear. The ability would have zero effect on his Longinus now. Naruto could let Vala figure that out the hard way, but the opening the half-devil gave him was too tempting to pass away. So, before Vala could finish his word, Naruto hit his head with the butt of his spear to stun him for a moment. Then, he rotated the spear before taking a wide and powerful swing at the same spot with the blunt side of the spear blade. Vala fell from the sky again, but before he could hit the ground, Naruto was already there and took another swing at his head. He smiled when he saw Vala's helmet cracking badly. This time, Vala took a few seconds to get up. Spears are meant to stab, not smack. Naruto chuckled. My spear, my rule. Vala stabilized his stance. Fair enough. Then he aimed his hand to his side. Divide. Naruto felt like scratching his head since he had no idea what Vala was going for. Divide. Then he felt it. Well, a second later, he saw it, the additional objects in the training ground, trees and grass meant for beautifying the area, enchanted pillars used as landmarks, and the magic orb that was creating the fake sky, all were destroyed. Valley, on the other hand, got a boost. While the artificial objects weren't created by Ophis, they were made using Hiter dragon magic, meaning Valley got a significant power-up. That's ingeny. Naruto crouched just in the nick of time to dodge Vala. Almost. Naruto stood straight, his muscles tensing up and his wings pulsating with power, and when Vala came from him again, he dodged his attack easily. You were holding. Before Vala could finish, Naruto smacked his helmet again with his Longinus, growling. Vala tried to grab Naruto, but he kept his distance. Even though Vala got a huge boost in his speed, Naruto was still faster since he stopped holding back. They were moving all over the area, so fast that even low ultimate level beings would have a hard time keeping up with them, but the result was still the same. Naruto was keeping Vala at his spear's reach, meaning Vala was unable to land any physical hit, but Naruto had no problem smacking him around. Out of nowhere, Vala stopped before slowly landing on the ground, making Naruto do the same. That's true Longinus, isn't it? The first and supposedly the most powerful Longinus according to the legends. It can create miracles and you are using it as a club, Vala growled. You are not the first one to say that. Naruto chuckled before he started to rub his chin. Come to think of it, I am using my Longinus as a baseball bat in this fight, but ask yourself this: does this show my inability to utilize my Longinus? Or does this illustrate my experience and connection with my Longinus? Naruto put the spear on his shoulder. I mean, do I really need to use miracles of true Longinus when I can beat someone up using its base form? For a few seconds, Vala said nothing, but Naruto knew he was planning something, probably with the help of Albion. All of a sudden, he started to slowly fly upward, never moving his gaze away from Naruto. But the moment he loosened his stance and spread his wings wide, Naruto felt an enormous amount of power building up within Vala. Then he aimed at Naruto, and his instinct told him that dodging was useless this time. Half dimension. Naruto knew what this attack was, having the size of objects and living beings without the need to make any contact, and Vala probably would focus solely on Naruto, so, in a split second, Naruto decided his next move. Damnatio! His wings shattered and the sparkling semi-transparent pieces covered Naruto in a dome. 3. Just in time, as the area around Naruto started to shrink. 2. Vala's wings started to release powerful vibrations, and a moment later, the entire place started to tremble in response. 1. Naruto could sense that the training ground was reaching its limit, and very soon would activate Stage 2 to protect itself from Vala's ability. 0. But it didn't need to, since game's over. His dome shattered and simultaneously, Vala's armor broke into pieces. He saw Vala letting out a silent scream before losing consciousness a second later. Naruto immediately rushed to Vala and grabbed him before he could hit the ground. He gently dropped him and looked in a certain direction of the training room. Need some help here? X. Las Vegas, Supernatural Section, new base. So, what do you guys think? Naruto asked while waving his hands around excitedly, pointing at the interior of the penthouse. Too flashy? Where's the gym? How did you get this location? Naruto looked at this team, the excitement from before slowly dying down, before facing Vala and Rosweiss. Tell me that at least you two are impressed. Rosweiss just nodded stiffly, but she wasn't fooling Naruto with that expression. As for Vala, he looked at the wall-sized windows before commenting. I don't care either way, but at least the view is nice. Naruto facepalmed and then dragged his hand down. Las Vegas is famous for entertainment and nightlife. Not only for humans but also for the supernatural world. I don't think the leaders of the old Satan faction are dumb enough to come here, but what about their lackeys? There's also the possibility that they may send agents to recruit the regulars from here. This surprised everyone in the room except one person, but Sakura didn't spill the beans. Yes, it wasn't his idea. He stole it from a movie that he and Sakura were watching a few days back. To be fair, he needed to watch the movie a second time since during the first time they were more immersed in touching than watching. Naruto shook his head to clear his mind. And no, Lee, there is no gym or training ground here. Naruto then pointed at a specific room. But you can use that to teleport to our training ground directly. Which one? Lee asked. The question made Naruto smile bashfully. Sorry, I was only able to book a regular one. Lee smiled. Any of them is fine by me as long as I can train. How many training grounds do you have? Vala interrupted. Not that many, Sakura answered for Naruto, and a second later, Medusa added, we prefer quality over quantity. This made Naruto smile. Sakura and Medusa made up honestly. The argument didn't even last half a day. Naruto couldn't argue back against Medusa's reasoning. Medusa wanted to measure her and Lee's strength. She used capturing the silver demon as a test to do so, and she didn't tell Naruto because if she did, he would tag along. If she told Sakura, she would have told Naruto, who would then tag along. So after Sakura and Medusa made up, Naruto sat down together with everyone and came up with a plan. One way or another, all of them wanted to become stronger, and there were only two ways that Naruto knew of to get stronger. Training and real experience. Unfortunately, constantly training with the same few people might not yield good results in the long run, and Naruto didn't want them to follow Vala's route either, so he came up with another plan. Invite trustworthy and powerful people in their team. With more people, they could spice up their training and would be able to take on multiple missions. That was why Vela and Rosweiss were here. Naruto clapped once and got everyone's attention. He then pointed at the large round table. Shall we start? A minute later, when all were seated, Naruto took the spotlight again. As promised, Vala will share what he knows about the old Satan faction, but before that, we will talk about another important topic. Vala and Rosweiss want to join our team. I would like to ask them to explain the reason for that. If I may. Rosweiss raised her hand slightly, and when Naruto gave her a nod of approval, she began her explanation. I wish to offer my services, within reason. In exchange for information. She paused for a second. Naruto couldn't tell if it was for dramatic purposes or because she was nervous. Information about Longinus. Since this was not something Naruto was expecting, he had to ask. This is surprising. Care to elaborate? Of course, Rosweiss nodded. The reason why I wish to join your group, temporarily if I may add, is to complete my thesis. The topic of it is about Longinus, and there are 3 Longinus wielders here. If Vala joins the team, she quickly added the last part. What do you wish to know? Medusa asked. Anything. Rosweiss's eyes were now sparkling with curiosity. The lack of information on Longinus makes them almost a myth. Even the fact that only 13 Longinus exist has not been proven, and her shining eyes landed on Naruto. Out of all the Longinus, you have the rarest and the first Longinus, and if the records are to be believed, you are the second wielder of it. Really? Now Vala was showing interest. Rosweiss nodded. The first time true Longinus was sighted was during the Great Three-Faction War, but that's all I know. So you wish to join our team to study our Longinus, but you need to understand that we are not going to tell you everything about our Longinus. Some of us may prefer to keep that information private. Understandable, but as I stated before, any information is appreciated and I am not asking it for free, it is an exchange. Naruto nodded his head, pleased by her answer. Then he looked at all his team members. I am okay with her joining. Anyone has any objections? As long as she respects our personal boundaries, I am fine with it. Medusa answered verbally while Sakura and Lee simply nodded. Great, welcome to the team Rosweiss. Naruto addressed their latest team member. We will have the celebration later, but first, let me go through some ground rules. He gave Vala a side glance and the half-devil understood his message. These rules apply to him as well. Don't worry, the rules are nothing too crazy. Respect everyone in the team, their boundaries, and their peculiarities. Medusa interrupted Naruto with a sly grin. Naruto gave her an unamused look before rolling his eyes. Think of this as a job. You come here to do certain tasks, interact and collaborate with your colleagues. Don't be a pain in the ass, and in return you get something. Are we getting paid? Vala asked, his lips twitching. Naruto pointed at the room they were in. You are getting 5-star accommodations and services for free. What more do you want? Vala nodded his head. Fair enough. While no one should poke around other team members' private life, I need some basic information on your background. As Naruto expected, Rosweiss and Vala tensed up. What do you mean? The Valkyrie asked. She couldn't hide the slight edge in her tone. Basic information. Naruto emphasized the 2 words. Are you a high-ranked person or a fugitive? Because I don't want your faction to start knocking on our doors because of you at the same time. I don't wish to plan any missions that will cross paths with your factions. Do you see where I am coming from? His explanation visibly calmed them down. Are you two okay with these house rules? A second later both Rosweiss and Vala nodded at Naruto. Wonderful. Medusa here will iron out the words of the rules later, so be sure to check it out with her. He fully ignored Medusa's glare and pointed at Vala. Your turn. Well, my motive is simple. I just want to become stronger, Vala answered with a shrug. Well, we know why you want to become stronger, but what we want to know is why you wish to join us. Naruto clarified. I think I should shed more light on the first. Why killing Rise of Levon Lucifer is just a sub-goal, but not the ultimate goal of mine. I want to become strong enough to challenge the true dragon gods. Another unexpected answer, but this one put Naruto on edge. Why is that? Vala smiled, a hint of his savagery leaking out. There is no ulterior motive here, Naruto. I just wish to fight them. For a few seconds, the room became uncomfortably quiet, but it was broken by a loud sigh from Medusa, another lunatic. Then it hit Naruto. Vala was a bona fide battle maniac. That meant, so, the reason you want to join us. Vala leaned forward and pointed at Sakura and Medusa, an independent avatar-type Longinus, one that has never been heard or seen before. He then turned to Lee, an unknown variable, who took me down in my balance breaker form within a few mere seconds. Finally, he looked at Naruto. Lastly, we have the true Longinus, the first and the most powerful Longinus, and its wielder who used it like a club and defeated me as if it was a walk in the park. Vala's smile became downright vicious. Why wouldn't I want to join such a team? The only thing Naruto could think of at that moment was, fuck. X. Side story 01. Somewhere in Kyoto. Thank you for doing this, Oniai-chan. Lilith gave her 50% genuine cute smile, and her brother replied with that megawatt bright smile of his. That's what big brothers are for. After that, he restarted his conversation with James. James was a half-dragon, one of the offsprings of Yulong, who was working under Fafnir. He took care of all lore-related pesky stuff of the human world for them. She wasn't sure why her big brother called him. Feeling a nudge, Lilith smiled and started to pet Fenrir again. Of course, she made sure not to hold back on her strength, since Fenrir liked that. She couldn't express with words how much she loved her brother's birthday gift. Fenrir wasn't just her playmate. He was also her training partner and her bodyguard, one that she liked to have around. No disrespect to any of the Dragon Kings, but their training methods were boring. Fenrir, on the other hand, had a similar mindset to hers, use overwhelming power to obliterate their enemies, and if that didn't work, use more power. Same for the bodyguard, she didn't like having so many disguised dragons following her. Heck, if she wanted to venture into the human world, one of the dragon kings would accompany her, but now, she had Fenrir. Of course, even with Fenrir, she still needed permission and would have to go out with a handful of bodyguards. The limousine came to a stop, and when the door was opened, Lilith and the rest got out. Her mood immediately soured when she saw the large building in front of them. Appam Studio, the animation studio that Fafnir bought for her. Even though she was in charge, Lilith was still having problems with it. Of course, she wasn't personally running the company. Fafnir had some of his people do that for her. The issue was that none of her requests and ideas were being taken seriously. And that was where her big brother came in, to check what was wrong. Lilith-chan, how are you? The old guard in front of the gate asked her amicably. In return, Lilith smiled at him. I am doing well, Hiro-san, how about you? As good as I can be. He then looked at Naruto, but before he could bow, Naruto was already in front of him. I would have none of that, Gramps. Then he pointed at himself. Name's Naruto Uzumaki, Lilith's brother. The old guard was surprised before laughing. Nice to meet you, Naruto-kun. Welcome to Appam Studio. Out of the blue, his brother asked Gramps, you like working here? To Lilith, the smile on the old guard's became a bit strange. Of course, my granddaughter loves the shows the studio makes. Really? Has she visited the studio before? The old guard's smile dropped, and he just stood there. This made his brother frown. Now, we can't have that. He snapped his fingers at one of Lilith's bodyguards. Please work with Gramps and bring his granddaughter here. The old guard was panicking now. Please, I can't inconvenience you. Do not worry. His brother gently grabbed the old guard's hands. By the time your granddaughter arrives, the studio will be filled with laughter and joy, I promise you that. For a few seconds, no one spoke, but Lilith could tell that Naruto and Hiro were having a conversation with their gazes alone, and then, out of nowhere, Hiro. The old guard looked at Lilith with watery eyes. You have a great brother, Lilith-chan. Lilith looked away. She could feel her cheeks heating up. The greatest brother. Naruto laughed before returning to her side and gently patting her back. Let's go. Lilith nodded and followed his brother without looking at his face. His brother had this uncanny knack of reading people, be it humans or dragons or ageless entities, and the way he could disarm them with his pure smile and soft tone, or words that resonate with their hearts. Lilith needed to learn his techniques. Then, she would be unstoppable. Don't worry, Hana-chan, they know we are coming. Her brother gave that peculiar grin which was effective against girls. The female receptionist didn't stand a chance against him. As he continued, just call them and say that we stormed inside, that I acted like a pompous young master who you couldn't stop in that way. You won't be in trouble. And he finished her off with a wink. Leaving the blushing receptionist behind, Naruto pointed at the elevator. Onward. Well, there was no need for her to learn that particular skill from her brother. They went directly to the big boss's office. Well, the second big boss, since she was the first one, or third considering Uncle Fafnir's people run the company. The moment they entered the office, the one sitting behind the desk signed, Why are you here? Lilith really didn't like the chubby man. His name was Masaru, and he was supposed to be an important person in the company. Was his title CIO? CFO? CDO? She couldn't remember, but from what she heard, his role was more important before Fafnir bought the company. Nice to meet you too, his brother said while his eyes scanned all the people inside the room. And who are you? Masaru frowned. Naruto Uzumaki, Lilith's brother and representative of. He paused before giving his you are in trouble smile. Everyone above you, according to the contract. The person standing beside Masaru started speaking, but his brother stopped him. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, Naruto interrupted. Let me finish, it's going to be short. His eyes scanned the people once more, and the expression he made now. Lilith didn't like it. His smile was missing and his gaze had a sharp edge to it. It was as if he was reading them and didn't like what he found out. You are all fired. Everyone's jaw hit the floor, other than her brother and James. James, take care of this please. Naruto directed a stunned Lilith out of the room, and make it quick. When they were out of the conference room, his expression turned soft as he smiled at her. So, what do you want to do next? Can you really do that? Lilith asked, pointing at the door behind them. Of course they were a problem for you, so I just removed them. What's so surprising about that? Yes, her brother was right. She didn't know what to say or do, so she just hugged him tight. Thank you, Oniai-chan. You're welcome. Out of nowhere, he turned to look in a certain direction. It seems our special guest has arrived. It took a moment for Lilith to realize who Naruto was referring to. It was Hiro-san's granddaughter. Let's give her the tour of her life, shall we? Lilith couldn't agree more. She looked up and gave him her 100% genuine cute smile. I do have the greatest big brother. Done. What if Godlike Naruto was Apprentice of Ophis High School DxD? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.